Hello everybody and welcome to our Christmas tier lists. Yes! Yes! I am here with my good boy Russ. It's December 24th if you're watching this live on YouTube. And as it always is, we release a video on the 24th, 25th, and 26th of my investigator ranking, Bryn's investigator ranking, and then Travis's investigator ranking. We've been doing this every year since I think 2022? So this is our, maybe 2021. I think it's our third year. Maybe it's our fourth year though, doing this. I mean, who knows? It could be our fifth year for how time goes. But this is a fun little tradition that we do. And I will say with a heavy heart that this is, I'm being a little bit over dramatic. This is the last year that this tier list is going to take place in the current form that it is. We've had some kind of discussions of how we were going to do things with the new current and rotation coming up. And while we're not going to stop doing the tier list, the Christmas tier lists are going to stay a yearly tradition here at PBG. But this format where we just rank all of the investigators blind with an empty tier list is going to be changing. You're already done? How we're going to do it instead is that next year we're going to start where we left off. So our tier list from last year is going to already be on the screen. And instead of rating every investigator on a blank canvas individually, we're going to look at the investigators and be like, are they still this tier? Do they go up or do they go down? It ultimately means that there might be less discussion about certain investigators across the board. Like, for example, when we get to Jim Culver, Bryn might be like, no, Jim's still trash. He stays in the F tier, right? So, like, that's going to be the structure that we're going to go forward. As like I said, I was being a little bit over dramatic because the tier lists are going to remain as they are in, like, the yearly tradition, but the format is going to be a little bit different. Russ didn't want the heated blanket, so I'm going to turn it off. What a jerk. Nah, I love him. Okay, and with that said, I think it's time to dive in. I didn't want to talk for like 3.5 hours this year. Last year's was pretty long. So what I'm going to do instead is try to just be a little bit more concise. And I'm also going to try to be less reactive if chat is like, what you talking about, Justin? That's crazy. Am I going to accomplish that? Who knows? We're going to find out. But I think we just get this show on the road. Talking about Roland Banks here. Also, I'm sorry if you do not know these investigators. I'm not going to be reading the cards out. This video is going to be long already. I don't need to read out all the cards. So if you do not know the investigators, I highly advise going to Arkham Build and checking out the investigators there. All right, Roland Banks. I did a campaign with Roland Banks this year, and honestly, it was probably not my least favorite campaign that I did, but it was not my most favorite. It was definitely on the lower end of things, and a lot of times, my enjoyment from a campaign determines, it's determined on how much I enjoyed playing the deck and how strong I found the investigator. I'm okay with playing an investigator that is weaker, right? But if they're able to accomplish a goal with their deck and that deck feels like it was fun to play, I consider that to be a success. With that said, this Roland deck didn't really, it was kind of like pulling teeth at times, and it kind of just made me wish I was playing like any other Guardian. Roland Banks I often cite as like the most fair investigator, and that is like a perfect like C tier for me, where he's not bad. Like, Roland Banks isn't a bad investigator, but I don't think there's a world where he is a good investigator. I think he's a well-designed investigator, but I think he's unfortunately just like a little bit too fair. And he's going to live here in the C tier. Daisy Walker, on the other hand, is a strong investigator. She has a great card pool, Seeker 05, Mystic 02. She has 5 in book, so you know that she's going to get the job done. And she has a really good ability that people often pair with, unfortunately, only 2 cards. People usually put in Old Book of Lore, or most recently, to add a little bit of excitement into Daisy Walker's life, she's doing it with Grim Memoir. And in my opinion, that's not really a huge selling point to provide the diversity for Daisy Walker that I know she has. You can build different decks with her. But the fact that you kind of are stapled to her ability makes her a little bit less exciting to... it makes it a little bit less appealing for me to try to find a reason to do something else with it, right? Because I would feel like I'm kind of torn between like the Spike side of me who really wants to win, and then like the more Johnny side of me who wants to win with a weird deck. And that's kind of where the two sides meet, where I want to win most efficiently or try things out, but do that thing most efficiently. And I feel like Daisy Walker is strapped really tight onto two different cards, which I think is just unfortunate. I don't think there was enough tomes that really competed with it. That it's just kind of like Old Book of Lore was so good for the longest time, and Grim Memoir is still like very good alternative, but I still think that like the card selection, I mean, the reality is you hold Old Book of Lore in one hand, Grim Memoir in the other, and you do whichever one is better at the time. I'm kind of knocking her for this, but like that loop is very enticing. I just wish it wasn't so good that I felt like there wasn't any other reason to try with her, and I think her design is a little bit problematic because of that. But for pure power ranking, she is an easy A-tier investigator. She is very, very strong. You don't really feel the 5 in her book. Sorry, 5 in her... Well, you do feel the 5 in her book. The 5 in her health, because she can run Mystic cards to protect herself during the Mythos phase. Is this general ranking, or would there be any difference based on player count? So I don't play True Solo, because True Solo, I think, sucks. But this is based on my playthroughs and watching a variety of people, whether it be Travis, Bryn, Eric, or patrons, play these investigators in 2-player, 3-player, or 4-player. So that is what all of this is based on, because I have a lot of experience both playing and watching these investigators, so it's kind of based on like a shotgun approach to all the times that I've seen her played. Skids O Drool. I wish it was Skids O Drool. Actually, I don't wish it was Skids O Drool either. I just wish Skids he was another deck that I played this year. So I actually played Skids this year. And so Skids has some things going for him. One of those things is that Robert Castaigne came out in this last tier list year, which means that that's a pretty good boost to Skids O'Toole. Unfortunately, Skids still has the problem that Skids has, where it is 3 fist. And like I recorded a video with Daniel on the channel where he argued that the stat line was good because the idea with Skids is that you just go like action crazy, so it doesn't matter if you are passing these tests or failing these tests, because the reality is that you get so many that you can just come out on top. And I would agree with that a lot more if Skids was Rogue Survivor, because what is being described there is a Survivor game plan. And I think that ultimately it doesn't work as much with the Guardian side of things, because Guardians are inclined to bump up one stat and then use that stat to fight enemies, and Skids is kind of already behind. Skids did get some boost again with like the Robert Castaigne, and if it's he gets like the rogue stuff too to be able to use his foot to actually do things. But do I think those things are good? No, but I don't think he's terrible. I think I'm gonna put him in the D tier. D for drool. But yeah, his stat line has made it a little bit tough. Like, I feel like if he was 2-3-4-3, we'd be having a very different conversation about Skids. I think also he would be in the running with people like Tony Morgan. Not as strong as Tony Morgan or Michael McGlenn, but certainly like he'd be weaker than Tony Morgan, obviously, but I think he'd be about on par with Michael McGlenn because he could be a little bit more open. And I do think Michael McGlenn is a really good fighter. Skids just has like that he has that combat tax that he needs to get to, right? But yeah, I like him. I liked trying him out this year. I don't hate him as much as I did, apart from the old vibes that I got when I tried to run him as my first investigator. But the fact that I felt inclined to play him in a run this year shows that I don't hate Skids O'Toole. And that Scarlet Keys run with Daniel had its ups and downs, but I think that unfortunately most of the downs were brought on directly by Skids O'Toole. And if I was Michael McGlenn, for example, with pretty much the exact same deck, we would be having a very different run of that campaign. I guess that's what I should say, is that a lot of this tier list, like, I am a firm believer that any investigator can accomplish the goal of Arkham Horror, the card game. There is no investigator in this game, even in the DNF tier, that are unplayable. Every investigator in Arkham is playable. But to me, what the power ranking is how much they are likely to struggle. Up at the S tier, the struggles are going to be very, very low. It doesn't mean you're never going to struggle, but it means that you'll have the least struggle of all the investigators. While the F tier it doesn't mean you're not going to win, but you're likely going to face the most struggles of all the investigators. You could be Finn and you would have done better. Unfortunately, we were doing a current run, so I could not have been Finn, but if it was Legacy, your point does stand 100%. All right, Agnes Baker, our loving mystic investigator. I also played her this year. I finished her in a current run through Hemlock Vale, and I had a very interesting kind of go with Agnes Baker here, where there were times when I felt that she was absolutely destroying the game in terms of just being able to like poke things down and keep enemies managed. And then there were times when I felt as though it was all coming undone. Where I was just like collapsing under the weight that the enemies were putting on me. So this tier list and all these tier lists, for context of current and legacy, they're going to be discussing legacy. That run was in current, and I don't know if I can really put too much weight on Agnes Baker because of that. I can't knock her too much, even though my most recent run with her was a little bit of a struggle. But in theory, investigators with a small card pool will have the same sort of difficulties expanded to a wide card pool, right? Like, Agnes Baker could not get all of the same spells that I could get in Legacy, but Agnes Baker will still probably run into roadblocks compared to another Mystic Investigator with the same card pool, right? So it's kind of one of those things where you have to kind of weigh all those considerations with this. So even though it was a current run, what can I apply from that current run to my assessment of Agnes Baker today? And I think realistically, I'm torn between like A and B. These tier lists, these tiers are not going to be ordered within the tiers, just so you know. I'm just going to put them in where they fit, because I can't be bothered to do that. So the reason why I think that Agnes Baker might be B tier is also because I feel like, I mean, Mystics generally struggle with things compared to the other classes. I also never see people bring out Agnes Baker. Agnes Baker goes into the A-B tier for Agnes Baker. That's a good call. That's a good call. But yeah, I never really see people bring her out, which to me implies that, one, maybe she's not that fun. I mean, the problem is Parallel Agnes exists, and it kind of just like eats her lunch, right? Like Parallel Agnes is really, really fun and really, really unique. I mean, she's still a Mystic with Survivor. I'm going to put her in the A tier. I think she is still good enough. I think just in current, she got scaled down a bit. So what would be an A tier in Legacy is like a B tier in current. I think that's pretty fair. Current Agnes is odd. Yeah, it's because spells... They really fricked up the spells in that revised core pool. Wendy Adams. Wendy's good. She has a good card pool. Survivor, pretty much 05, but pretty much 03, and then Rogue 02. Like, that's a pretty legit card pool. There's a fun deck that you can do with Wendy with Quick Learner, which I think is kind of neat with all the actions, right? She's kind of like Agnes for me, where I'm kind of torn between A and B. I did not play Wendy this year, though. I actually don't know the last time I played Wendy. Wendy doesn't really excite me. Maybe I gotta try her out with that, like I said, with like an action Quick Learner deck. Maybe I'd have fun doing that. What a weird situation to find myself in as I look at Wendy Adams and don't really know where to put her. Where did I put her last year? I don't want to have to dig that out and like look at my assessment last year, but I feel like I might. She has a great defensive stat line, right? Yeah, and the ability to reroll tests is very good. But I guess my question is, in Legacy Arkham, how much does her ability actually matter anymore, right? And I think the answer. So what I think really the situation is with Wendy Adams is I think her ability is now outclassed by the card pool, right? Why would I want to discard my cards, unless I'm doing a discard build, mind you, to reroll a test when those cards are probably better at giving me tempo if I'm passing tests? So I'm going to just like aim to pass the tests, over the reroll protection, which is good, but how good is it, right? That's what I kind of feel about Wendy. I feel like she was very good when the card pool was smaller and she had to discard cards to give her kind of just more ability to pass. But yeah, now the pool is that you just don't fail. I'm going to go with B. I'm gonna follow my gut here. I'm gonna put Wendy Adams in the B tier, and maybe I can look at this again next year and be like, that's crazy. But I think right now, I think that her ability is still very good, but I think that she kind of just doesn't have one anymore. You're kind of just like, I don't know. She's like Agnes. She's like knocking on the door between the two. But I'm going to put her in the B tier. Because I think just, again, if you look at Legacy, she's just not failing anymore, right? Like, she's just, like, not trying to do that. And yeah, you can use it to redraw an auto-fail token, which I guess is good, right? But it doesn't really, like, make me go, like, yeah, that's a strong investigator. It's a consistent investigator, but I wouldn't say that's particularly strong. Ah, man, that's tough. That's tough. B tier for Wendy? It feels wrong. But it feels like what my gut is telling me, and sometimes you just gotta trust your gut, right? That's what Christmas is all about. Dude, this is gonna be a long video. I'm already 18 minutes in. Are you kidding me? And I just finished the core set. Yeah, we gotta move on. We're 18 minutes in. Zoe Samaras. I think she's a B tier fighter. I don't think she's up in the tiers. I don't think she's up in the tiers here for the really like strong fighters that we're going to be talking about later. I think that her having 4 fist means she has to work a little bit harder. I think her ability is good. Underlined. But I think Dunwich deck building at this point now is cooked. I think Dunwich deck building is cooked at this point. It's not really something that. It's with the card pool, like 5 level 0 cards from any class. It just is not, it's not going to move the needle anymore. Like when Dunwich first came out and we were like, Zoe Samaras can play 5 level 0 cards from any freaking class. That's insane. Oh, there's so many options we could do. We can do anything. And now like the Guardian card pool is just also like so much better that you look at that and you're like, well, I guess I'm just going to use my level 0 options for like economy, right? But yeah, I think that just the Dunwich deck building, I don't want to talk about it too much here, is a little bit cooked. But yeah, I love playing her. I love bringing her to. She's like my my custom set. Like whenever I have to play a custom campaign, I bring her because she's just reliable, right? But I think that she does still struggle. I've struggled more with her than, say, for example, Mark Harrigan, who we're going to be talking about pretty soon. Not pretty neat. Well, he is pretty neat, but Rex Murphy. Yo, this guy's still S tier for Sex Murphy. I talk about this a bit in Bryn's tier list, which is already recorded but doesn't come out until tomorrow if you're watching this one on YouTube, and in 8 days if you're watching this live. That Rex Murphy is... The reason why he is so good is because he demands so little to start controlling the game. And that's where I base all of this off of, right? He has really good defensive stats. Like 3/3 is very good in defensive stats. He has an amazing like card pool because he gets level 0 seeker cards. And he has an ability that if you play a magnifying glass is going to immediately start paying dividends, right? Like Daisy Walker is very similar in the fact that like you can get Grim Memoir to get Rex's ability and draw a card, right? And it's kind of looking in the similar place, but I actually think that Rex and Daisy are actually pretty comparable when it comes to their usage of Grim Memoir, Abigail Foreman notwithstanding, right? And I definitely understand the people who want to say that Rex Murphy isn't as strong as we here at PBG make him out to be. But I think that those people are bad. Because the thing is, every time I've seen someone say that Rex Murphy, like this person is better than Rex Murphy, I'm like, yeah, but the point that you are making is that this ability gets a clue for an extra clue each round, but that's what Rex just does, and he can just play all the good cards to just make it easier. If Arkham was competitive, the S tier deck would be Dr. Milan, Higher Education, Rex Murphy. Like, that would be the deck that the meta would warp around if this was a competitive game. And I have no doubts about that, right? Like, that is 100% fact. If there was a comment that they left that on, like, I think it was a tier list last year or the year before. Yeah, if this was a competitive game, the meta would be Rex Murphy, Higher Education, Magnifying Glass, Dr. Milan, Christopher. And it would win the game very quickly. It would be kind of insane. All right, Jenny Barnes, 3s across the board, get 1 additional resource during each upkeep phase. It's like Zoe Samaras, but it feels so much worse, even though Zoe's triggers less. Isn't that kind of funny? It's because Rogue, at this point now, can find money so much easier. Like, when Jenny first came out, her ability to get that extra resource, I think, was actually very impactful. Jenny is dead to you. Oh, shit. Well, I guess she is. She's gone in the story, so good riddance, right? Is that, so she was very good when she first came out, but in the long term, I think she has just been outclassed. I'm going to put her as my first and maybe only F tier. And I just think it's because her ability isn't great. Her card pool, as we talked about, is not good. Even though she does get Rogue, like, 3/5, which, in my opinion, is the strongest, like, high XP pool of the game. But she doesn't have, like, too much else going for her because of that. And I think that she's just completely outclassed. Maybe only F tier. Amina's ears perk up. Yeah, Amina might be in the F tier, but, she might not be in the F tier. We have a lot of video to go before we get there. I like her sister better. Yeah, Izzy is, I think, a very strong investigator. I think that Izzy is going to be a very, very powerful investigator in Legacy. Jenny, I never really know what to do. Again, I guess like there's the alt signatures, but those are so gone at this point now that I don't even like consider them in there in my head when it comes to that. But yeah, using Green Man Medallion to get a bunch of experience to load your deck up with XP cards, and then still fucking auto-fail a Rotten Remains and be like, oh shit, I'm almost half dead. Okay. Jim Culver, sorry buddy, I'm gonna also put you in the F tier. F for fucking failure. Oh, Jim, oh, Jim, oh, Jim. I've played a lot of Jim decks. I didn't play a regular Jim this year. And this guy is just, he's cooked. He's cooked. He has an okay stat line. If he wasn't pure Mystic, right? Because if Jim had Agnes's card pool, this would be a much different conversation, because I feel like Jim plays best. Does this include parallel? We got parallels. Buckle up. This is gonna be a long ass video. We're gonna be talking about parallels for sure. But I think Jim plays best when he is when he's leaning into the survivor side of what his investigator should be. But the problem is because he's a Dunwich investigator, the survivor side is only 5 cards. And I think that really hurts Jim, because he's not really a Mystic. I know that he's Mystic on the front, but his playstyle is just not Mystic. Even if, for example, you are playing like all of McBride 2 with Jim Culver to try to fish out skulls, you're also going to grab a -1 or like a 0, and odds are that's just as good as drawing a skull token. He also, like, there's been multiple attempts to try to support Jim and skulls, but none of them have stuck, which I think at this point we can kind of just confirm is that Jim is stuck. He is not, there's just nothing that'll make this work, because his ability doesn't actually do anything. Unlike Wendy Adams, which gives her like an ability to pass a test that she would have failed, Jim is just a chance to, like, it makes the token bag easier, which again is really good for a survivor investigator. But he is not a survivor. He is basically mono Mystic. And in that, it kind of just doesn't work for the playstyle, because everything you try to do with him is just other Mystics do it better. Like, if you took the exact same deck of Jim Culver and put it in Agnes Baker, guess who's going to play it better? Agnes Baker. Like, that's just how it is. No one's fighting you on F tier for Jim. Move on. Is this your first time watching one of these videos? Do you not know how the comments are going to say? There's some people in the comments are going to be like, no, I love Jim. There's people in our Discord who's like, Jim's ability is good. I have to argue against Jim because he's bad. His ability is more impactful on Hard Expert, maybe where Skulls are that much worse. Yeah, but then you just draw, like, the Cultist and fail anyway, right? You can get Negosi and feel sad for the XP you spent on that? Yeah, amen. Ashcam Pete. I think he is another just, like, perfect B-tier investigator. Above average. He always finds little fun things to play with assets that exhaust, so I think that's really neat for him. Duke is less relevant than he was before. I think that's a big thing, is that he's kind of just become, like, less relevant. But he's still a survivor. He can still get things done. And he can play down the rabbit hole, which is very good. Any investigator who can play down the rabbit hole gets bonus points for me, because down the rabbit hole is really good. Mark Harrigan. Mark Harrigan is going to be an A-tier fighter for this. Mark can do pretty much anything at this point. Mark is now a very versatile flex investigator, and Bryn actually brought him as our main Kluver, and while it worked in a way that only Bryn can make something work in 3 players, it still actually did things. But yeah, Mark Harrigan, Sophie's very good. Sophie kind of just, like, once again, is kind of allows him to do what he does. His ability of the downside of not having, like, only having a certain amount of damage on him before Sophie gets pissed, is a lot less relevant now than it was when he first came out, because Soak has gotten better and healing has gotten better. So in turn, Mark's ability has just gotten better. He was a great investigator when he came out. He's a fantastic investigator now. Mark Harrigan, to me, is an easy A-tier investigator. Surely he should be S for all the sex he's having. No, he's still like emotionally and physically attached to Sophie, so he's not banging. Mark is one of those carpools that don't really evolve much with the carpool growing. I disagree personally, because I think that tactic is. So I actually disagree because like even in the threads here, there's someone being like, tactics come out. There's a lot of level 0 tactics that have impacted Mark Harrigan, in a lot of cool ways. I think it's less impactful because it's only level 0. I can agree with that, but I do think that the tactics have given Mark a lot to explore as they have come out. Like maybe not new deck ideas, but they've increased his power level, I think. Minty fan, B tier investigator. She gets to live with the B tier. Like, so how it goes is like, if it's taking shape now, B tier are like what I would call good investigators. These are good investigators, but not like great or amazing investigators. So that's where they're living. And I think Min is a good investigator. She has a lot of decks that she can explore. She can play the new discard archetype very well. And anyone who can play the discard archetype got a nice boost from Drowned City. It's really well supported, so like both Daryl and Min really improved with that. I played a Min quick-witted deck, and it actually was really fun to play. Was it good? Yeah, I think it was. The problem with Min that I think keeps her out of the A tier for me is that every time someone's brought a Min, someone's had to evade as Min. So a big thing that like Daisy and Rex have over Min is that Daisy can have like manipulation over the encounter deck and a good tempo. Rex's is that his tempo is just insane, right? Min has to work a bit harder for that tempo, which means that there's going to be more encounter cards drawn, and Min is going to there's going to be more threats that the table is going to have to deal with a Min player over a Daisy or a Rex player. So that's why I'm going to put Min in the B tier. So when I say I've always seen a Min have to evade, that is basically my cheeky way of saying that that she has to... You'll have to play a longer game with Min compared to some of the other Seekers. Min, in my view, benefits from running parlay cards for enemy management. Yeah, but couldn't you say that about, like, any Seeker, really? Because isn't that kind of also just, like... I mean, I guess you couldn't say about any Seeker because Min... Again, you have to draw more encounter cards with Min because her tempo is down. I think her weakness is one of the top 25% bad ones. Yeah, I'd say her weakness is pretty tough. Her weakness is one that you have to be considerate of as you're playing. Safina Rousseau! I'm going to put her in the D tier. I'm going to put Safina Rousseau in the D tier. And the reason for that is that she just, like, doesn't have an ability. And I've never, like... I mean, Bryn brings good Safina decks, but even he says that Safina is not that great. And I think she does need to do a lot, and also, like, she is very vulnerable to her mulligan. This is something that previous commenters have balked at me for saying this, but her mulligan, even though she sees more cards, feels worse and is worse than a 10-card mulligan, which is crazy, right? Because the math just doesn't add up. But, like, having that choice of, like, if I could choose between 5 cards of, like, of the top 10 or more if there's weaknesses versus having to stay with, like, 8 of the 13, I don't know, there's a weird thing that happens. It's like, yeah, it's barely better having a slightly bigger deck too. Yeah, because she has 33 cards, right? That's a good point. But there's a lot of times when I've seen a player bring Safina to a patron game day and they didn't get their asset that they were running in their mulligan, and they were like, oh, I don't do anything. And I don't have the, like, I have to find it. And, like, that's really bad. But yeah, so I'm going to put her in the D tier. I don't think she's terrible, but I think she has to work really hard to put out the levels that other investigators do. Not looking great for the rogues so far, huh? Not looking really good for the rogues at this point. Akachi Anyale. I'm going to put her in the B tier. I think her ability was a lot better when she just came out. Like, being able to get an extra shot on your shriveling was kind of good in for Akachi, or like an extra use on your Rite of Seekings. But at this point now, charges are free. Like, they basically like hand you charges and be like, hey, please take this, please. We don't even want these charges, just take them with you, right? And I think that's a big shift that, in my opinion, has started powering Akachi down. So I think she's still a good investigator, but I think that now she is, I think, like, weaker than even Agnes, because her deck building is more limited than Agnes's. I think that the Survivor's really good. I love how the Mystic symbol looks on her card, though. It's a good looking piece of art, and like with the background and all that, so yeah. William Yorick. Put him in the A tier. Really good fighter. It's impossible to kill him in Legacy. He can like live forever. His tools for combat have just been increasing with every new cycle that comes out. When Core 2026 comes out and he can use Meat Cleaver 3, that's going to be another huge boon to William Yorick. Like, if you think about it, that mother fricker is going to be attacking at 7 very reliably, and then he can like put the horror on his cherished keepsake, discard it, kill the enemy, heal the horror, get the cherished keepsake back, right? I agree with what you're saying as well, that he's S tier for deck building. I agree. If I was looking at this as just like the option of what was capable for me for building decks, yeah, I think he has an impossibly large amount of decks that he could build, which I think is really cool. Yeah, I think that Will Yorick is very strong. I love whenever Bryn brings them and tries something new. I played him last year. I don't think I played Will Yorick this year. But I tried there. No, I did play him this year because the Drowned City card came out. What's that card that's not good, but it's actually pretty good in Will Yorick? The discard investments. What's that card called? Bucket of Supplies. So I brought that in a Will Yorick deck, and it actually was like really good economy. And that was probably the Ample Supplies, yes. That's Banana Crate, perfect. That's like the only time that I considered playing Ample Supplies, and it actually really showed up in that Will Yorick deck. Not even to discard cards to bump it up, but just as like free money in the long term. And I liked it actually more than Schaffner's once I got through it, because it could help pay for events and stuff like that as well. It could help pay for allies and things. So yeah, I think that he did get some new stuff in Drowned City too. But he always gets new stuff, right? I agree with what Valentin said about the S tier for building decks. A tier for power on my tier list here, but I don't disagree with that assessment at all. Lola Hayes. I'm going to put her in D tier. The reason why I'm going to put her above Jim and Jenny, even though she probably struggles as much as them, is because the deck building is just so much more open, and you can mitigate those struggles in a lot of interesting ways. Of the note, this tier list is designed. Is not designed, because I'm not designing anything here, but it's taking account the taboo list. So I've put her in. I don't know why people are shocked. I don't think Lola has been in my F tier for a few years. I think that you guys are just showing you guys are not true PBGers, and I'm not going to take offense to that. I'm not going to cry live on YouTube or Twitch. I'll cry once the stream is done. But she's, I think ever since the taboo, I haven't put her in my F tier, because I think that there's a lot of, her deck building is with her weakness being less punishing and being able to switch multiple times, I think she's more versatile. Yeah. But yeah, the taboo, I think really, I mean, D tier's not a good place to be. Keep that in mind too. But I think parallel Lola, once we get to her, I think she's really good. How many played her post taboo? I think I played her twice. Post taboo. Transfiguration makes Lola really exciting. She could transfigure into someone else. It's true. But yeah, no, just the O3s, I think just generally makes her more open than both Jim and Jenny. And honestly, if I had to choose between bringing Lola, Jim, or Jenny into a campaign, I'd choose Jim. But that's because I have a problem. But the second choice would be Lola. Leo Anderson. I think this motherfucker is a good B tier investigator. I think he has one of the best card pools in the game for guns. Even better than Michael McGlenn. Yeah, I think so. I look at all of the decks that I've brought to Patreon game days, and somehow Leo Anderson has the most. Because if you don't know, on Patreon I release 2 deck lists a month based on things that I like have been on the decks that I've been playing. And Leo Anderson, I have to like be like, okay, I released a Leo Anderson deck list 2 months ago. I should wait a few more months before I release this other Leo Anderson deck list that I did. The reason why I think his deck building is so good is because he can also... So rogues are the firearm class, right? But Michael McGlenn, he's a little bit punished for playing firearms, and Leo Anderson isn't, right? Seeing Michael McGlenn get played, the weakness is actually a lot more relevant than the community thought it was going to be. I remember when it came out, people were saying, oh, this is actually an upside. You got to reload your guns. Let me tell you, of all the Michael McGlenns I've seen, they have never reacted with any sort of positivity when the cops showed up and took their guns. It's always been like, ooh, that's so bad right now. And I think that because of that, Leo Anderson is... better at guns than Michael McGlenn. And he also gets like an ability that is, I mean, like Michael McGlenn's ability is good. It gets him a lot of money, right? And also this is going to be funny because Michael McGlenn is probably going to be a higher tier than Leo once we get there. Sorry, I got lost. I read chat and I lose my thoughts here, but I think that Leo can do more with guns than Michael McGlenn. So like Michael McGlenn is a better flat user of like pistols and firearms and stuff like that. But I think Leo has more versatility in with his guns, and he has like a higher ceiling than Michael McGlenn does, but he has a much lower floor, is I think what it comes down to it for it. Leo holds a record for most sled dogs killed. Yeah, he kills them for fun. Yeah. And yeah, there's more gun support cards for Leo as well that Michael McGlenn might miss out on. I think that Leo he's just like, he's very open for what you can do with him. And I think he's pretty legit, and his 1 foot doesn't matter because he can just tank it with his allies because he has so much survivability with that as well. It's fun to try out different allies with him. I wish his Elder Sign was a little bit better. I wish it was like top 6 as opposed to top 3. Because I think then you could be a little bit pickier about your allies, but I love him. I like Leo. I'm going to put him in B tier though. Ursula Downs? So I don't dislike her the way Travis and Bryn dislike her. And I think a big reason for that is that I think she actually is really relevant. I take Search 3 and Play Ally for Leo's Elder Sign as well. I think Ursula is actually really good in 2-player, right? I think she is very efficient in 2-player. I think her value goes down in 3 or 4-player. But in all fairness, Rex's also goes down in 3 and 4-player a little bit, right? I played her this year. I played Ursula in the Innsmouth Conspiracy blind run with Eric. I played an Ursula deck, and I told Eric I was just going to try hard. My deck was just going to be insanely powerful, and it was going to get things... All right, Jenny, I'm curious. How are you getting 4 to 6 clues every investigate action? And is it unique to Ursula, or is it just the Seeker card pool? Because I feel like that happens a lot when people are assessing cards, where they talk about what this investigator can do, but it's not particularly unique to that investigator. And I'm curious. I'm curious to see, because maybe it does have some sort of boost that's unique to Ursula. And I'm not saying that this isn't the case. I'm just curious. Red Clock plus Ravenquill Charge Shenanigans. Yeah, that is a pretty good deck. And it would be one that is mostly unique to Ursula, right? Because Lucius could do it as well. Hey, Time Roller, how's it going? No, so that's the thing that I'm torn about Ursula. And she's going to be in one of these 2 tiers. So the deck that I brought with her was very good this year. And I'm trying to think of what advantage Ursula had with it compared to other people. So that was just like a classic steady-handed precision deck that used both Antikythera and chemistry sets. But other investigators could do it, but there is the movement tech that can really make it fly, right? She's very good at that. In 2-player, she's kind of Rex with +2 intellect. I see what you're saying, but I don't think... I think I would I'd put my thumb over the with +2 intellect part, because with Rex, you're also just, like, passing anyway. Like, you're not too worried about, like, the -4, because your next one's going to be a 0 and you're going to pass, right? She gets her free action pretty easily, not as often as, say, Daisy or Rex. I actually say the opposite. I actually think her free action is more fragile than Rex's and Daisy, because if you're not doing a book action every turn with Daisy, you've built a bad deck, and that's on the player, not Daisy. And there's always clues on locations, but you can't always move with Ursula. She does have good defensive stats. Like, Ursula gets to a scenario where you can't move, and she's just like, oh, I've lost my ability, right? But Daisy and Rex don't have that. Oh, not as often. No, I misread. That's on me. I misread that. No, you're 100% on that. No, that was on. I misread that there. I think I'm going to put her in B tier. Because these are kind of all ranked in 3 and 4 players as well. No one brings Rexes to game day, but if someone brought a Rex to game day, I'd probably kiss them on the mouth. All right, Finn Edwards, I think, is a B tier investigator. I think he's very good. I think he has a really good ability. I think he has a really good stat line. I think his card pool is kind of shit. He's actually just kind of a slightly better, but slightly worse Dunwich deck building for that, right? Because he can play Rogue 0-3, which does give him Lucky Cigarette Case 2. He gets Illicit 0-5. And he gets Seeker Survivor 5 cards level 0. So it's kind of this weird, like, it's kind of this weird space for an investigator to be in terms of like how they scale with a growing card pool. He gets some Rogo 5. Yeah, he gets the illicit, but it's not Rogo 5, right? It's not. Like we can't hand wave it and say it is. He does have a very good Elder Sign, but I think as a whole, there was a moment when I think him and Trish were very comparable, but I think Trish has like put her pedal to the metal and is like now 60 kilometers ahead of him, right? And Finn is like, wait, I want to play too, right? Haven't played him, but can't really see how the bonus evade action is really good. It is nice. It's like, it's one of those things that it doesn't feel good, but like being able to just like evade an enemy to take a little bit of stress off your fighter so they can do other things actually is really relevant. But yeah, B tier. A lot of these investigators are going to be B tier. We haven't seen another C tier yet. Father Mateo, 4-3-2-3, and then he has an ability that at this point sucks. It's good once, but the reality is that other investigators' abilities are good multiple times. I'm curious to see how good Father Mateo would be, if it would be too much for if his ability was limited once per game per player, right? How bad would that be? How good would that be? Like, how bad would it be for, like, the design? In 2 players, you get to cancel 2 auto fails. Because I just think his ability is kind of ass, right? Like, right now, his ability is not good. Yeah, and his deck building sucks. That's a good point. Like, even now, like, it's gotten better because there's more blessed cards, right? His ability is the Elder Sign. That's not an ability. That's just, like, a thing that happens. And, like, yeah, I made that video where I talked about him being able to fish out Elder Signs. I think I am going to put him in the C tier. My local priest would never bless my M1918 bar, but that'd be sick if he did. You just gotta ask the right priest. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a priest in America who would bless your gun. There's gotta be at least one, right? Too high, D is tops. I don't think you're wrong, but I still think that he's the best user of token fishing all of McBride too. There was the decks that we played in the limited collection, and my Mateo deck was Gangbusters, and it was only 3 sets, and if I had a few more, it would have been more rounded. Yeah, he does get to also start with 8 XP, which is kind of nice. I think, like, in Legacy, the 8 XP to start, if that's got to be C tier, right? You got to start with 8 XP. That already means that you're going to get, like, so much more in the first scenario. You could even just, like, grab, like, 2 6-cents 4s. And, like... Or does he have to spend them on Blessed cards, or can he just spend them? Do they have to be on Blessed cards for his 5 XP? Or can they be anything for his 5 XP? Is there a limit on that? I always forget. You can spend it on anything? Yeah. So yeah, you could even just buy 2 6-cents 4s and crush the first scenario. That's got to be worth C tier, right? The fact that he's like one of the only investigators who could do that. Like Kaimani can, but Kaimani is not going to be able to do that to the first scenario. You get Father Mateo, grab 2 6-cents 4s. You're going to get all the clues on the first scenario, start the team off with 2 extra experience. I think that's pretty good. So I think I'm pretty confident in the C tier for that. Kelvin Wright is going to be D tier. Dude just, like, is kind of like Father Mateo, where he doesn't have an ability. And he has, like, this fun fantasy. Okay, sorry, I said I wasn't going to talk to chat about this. Kimani getting 2 stealths and a pickpocket is not comparable to 2 6 Sense 4s for the first scenario. I know you're saying that, like, it's going to have a similar output, and I agree it's going to probably have a similar output. But it doesn't get you the victory that the first one does. It helps you manage enemies, but Kimani already is kind of, like, is good at managing enemies, but also kind of shit at managing enemies. So I'm not gonna... they're not comparable at all in my books. Not even close. Like, not even, like, in the same room. Like, if I had a choice between the two, I would choose the person bringing Father Mateo 100% of the time. Yeah, Kelvin... He just, like, doesn't do anything. Like, he can play survivor cards, which is what puts him in D. He can do, like, test at 0, worse than other investigators can. And then, like, you get that weird power fantasy that comes with him later, but then you kind of don't have... It's like a transition where you start at test at 0 and then go to some other ones. And yeah, like, it's easier for him. He dies less. Like, Valentine, you're 100%. Like, he dies less. But, like, what are you doing when you're not... Like, what else are you doing? And the answer is probably test at 0, and that's good, but any other survivor can do it. Okay, Circle Undone with Carolyn Fern. We should have some water. I'm gonna blow out my candle, too. I rank Kelvin worse since she's such a trap for new players. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. But I also think new players should fall into traps. I also think traps are good for new players. Carolyn Fern. Man, we have so many B-tier investigators. I think she's good. I think Carolyn Fern is... I think she's a good investigator here. She has a wicked card pool. Like, an absolutely... A wicked card pool. She has a very fun ability that's really fun to make discoveries with. And I love that. I love when, like, an investigator's ability can teach you rules for the game. I think that is, like, one of my favorite things, right? Where it's like, it's 2 separate instances of healing if you can heal multiple things and everyone gets resources. Stuff like that is really cool. And it's not like it's like explained on the cards, but it's one of those things that you can discover and learn more about that from it. I think Carolyn Fern in gameplay kind of falls into a bad Clover, which is still good, right? Like, she's still, like, I've never seen a Carolyn falter. But it's also one of those things that I've never seen a Carolyn, like, blow the game wide open. So I think B tier is really good. What are good cards to use our high resources on? May I introduce you to my Lord and Savior, Dynamite Blast? Just, like, kill enemies with a Dynamite Blast is really good. I've seen people use Keen Eye, which is all right, but I much prefer the Dynamite Blasts. Or just, like, buy an agency backup and, like, go nuts with that, right? Those are the things. Just, like... Fine, yeah, expensive research, so that's extensive research, if you're not in with that. She's also a really good user of, what is it, the Close the Circle, right? She's really good at Close the Circle. Because she can play, like, Mystic 01. She can do that, right? Can Carolyn take agency backup? Can she only do Guardians? She can only do Guardian 0 to 3. Yeah, she can't take agency backup. Good call on that, Snakebird Priestess. She can't take that one, but she can take Dynamite Blast 3, because she can only do Guardian 0 to 3. No, you're right. Yeah, Field Agents, really good. Yeah, Ancient Stones, yeah. I haven't seen Carolyn's and Steady Handed dropped. That is true. She did kind of get deleted a little bit because Steady Handed is just like, wait a minute. I can just do what Carolyn does while also playing these bomb-ass cards. She's sweet. I think she's good, though. Joe Diamond. I think I'm going to put him in the C tier. And I think it's just because he's so fragile. He's the only time that I can recall in a Patreon game day when a player got eliminated like 30% through a game day was when they brought a Joe Diamond deck. And I felt bad because they just had to watch us play the rest of the game day. And I think that because of how fragile he is, that's a notable knock against our good friend Joe Diamond here. I think that his 2 active stats being 4s means that he's very, very fun to play. What do we call new and old investigators? I'd probably call this Circle Undone Joe, right? I'd call Core Joe and TCU Joe, right? OG Joe works too, yeah. But yeah, no, I'm probably, once I internalize it, this is going to be like Circle Undone Joe and Core Joe. Or it's going to be like Joe, like Core 2026 Joe, and then other Joe is just going to be Circle Undone Joe. Like, that's the one that you just say. But I think that he's very, very fun to play. He's one of my favorite investigators, and I always have a good time with his hunch deck. I feel like some recent additions, like Working a Hunch, the upgraded Working a Hunch, and then I also have been enjoying Seeking Answers, Breach the Door. Like, there's a lot of really cool options for the hunch deck. It just continues to improve. There's the new card that was just spoiled, where it's like Right Tool for the Job, which I believe was an insight that you can use to dig out weapons or tools. I think that's really neat, especially for like the Octo Sledgehammer Joe. I think that that's going to be a really good piece for that deck. But he's just very fragile. You have to be very aware of keeping him alive, which requires resources and cards from your deck, which is going to eat up into some of the other things you can do. So I'm going to be putting him down in the C tier. Preston Fairmont. This guy has all 1s across the board. How good can he be? Preston. So this guy kind of lives in the same space as Wendy and Agnes for me, where I'm kind of stuck between A and B. I join every year just for this evaluation. That's why I do it, baby. So Preston gets 4 resources a turn, which is really good. You just play like all the best, most expensive events and assets and just play them. He's a really good user of the Mariner's Compass. He's good with the Fire Axe. I'm currently watching Travis play him through Path Carcosa, and it's going very well. And Travis did something I never thought I'd see someone do, but for reasons due to our fun challenge run we're doing, is that is a Lucky Cigarette Case 3. And he's actually routinely getting good searches out of it too, which is really funny to watch. Huh. I'm gonna put Preston in the A tier. And I think that's just because getting 5 resources a turn is very good. And events have just gotten better. Assets have just gotten better. Mythos protection has just gotten better. Travis has always been a big believer of Preston, and that's made me very focused on watching people and playing Preston myself. And I think, yeah, you're 100% right with that. I agree. I think he benefits from legacy deck building more than the average investigator. 100%. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put him in the A tier. He's like, I think of everyone in A tier, I think he's like with Agnes on like the lower side of A, but because we're not ordering in there, he's gonna just live there. Every time there's a new event or asset in Rogue or Survivor, like that was like Cunning Distraction. That came out last year, right? That was Hemlock. Like that card's really good in him. It basically replaced Cunning Distraction. He also got like the bank job to, during a downturn, just like destroy his weakness. His weakness is also super gameable now that economy has gone better. Yeah, I don't need to talk myself into it anymore. Diana Stanley. So I'm playing Diana Stanley right now in the same run that Travis is playing Preston Fairmont. And I've never really been... Bank job's illicit. Good call, Astute. It is. He can't play that card. Good thing Travis isn't playing that card. Cunning Distraction, replace Cunning Distraction. Did I say that? Chat suddenly got very rude. Okay, we'll go back and clarify all this. Elaborate Distraction, replace Cunning Distraction. My bad. And he cannot play Bank Job. That is like, I forgot about that Bank Job was illicit, because in my mind, it's not a crime to steal from the banks. I didn't realize that chat were bootlickers for big banks, but you know, that's just me. That's just me. All right, now that the interruptions are done, we can go to Diana Stanley again. I've never been a big fan of Diana Stanley. And I found that her deck was kind of forced into taking the same exact cancels and ignores just to make her be on the level of a normal Mystic. But I do feel like, especially with Drowned City, she now actually has a lot of different choices for how she wants to take her cancels and ignores. I'm trying out that new 5 experience... I like taking the new 5 experience specialist card, the Sacred Oath cards. They're actually sick as hell in Diana. Especially if you are going hard on token fishing with Olive to grab Elder Signs to pull them out and then just play them again. Also, Spectral Shield. Turns out that card is very good in Diana Stanley, right? And I'm going to put Diana in the strongest category I think I've ever put her in. Because I think this year was the first time I ever enjoyed myself playing Diana Stanley. And I think she is pretty good. It's going to be really funny when I say that I'm going to put her the highest I've ever put her, and I put her in B tier. Yes, her weakness is a lot more crippling, which I actually really like the change. I really like that change. I think that it actually makes her weakness relevant, which is nice to see. Dude, she can play that new counterattack too? Oh, shit. Alright, we're going to put her in B tier. She's a good investigator. She gets the job done. Okay. I wish I could make this a tiny bit smaller. But yeah, no, play her again, play the Oaths. It's a good time. She's a very good user of them, which makes sense. They were practically designed just for her. I know Preston can also play them, but he ain't fucking with that. Marie Lambeau, I'm going to put her in the C tier. I think, funnily enough, Marie Lambeau is at her best when you are kind of ignoring her ability, apart from maybe, I feel like your tier list being a bit rude to me, practically giving me the finger. Holy shit, it is. Oh my god, that's a little bit problematic, isn't it? But I feel like Marie Lambeau is at her best when you're kind of just ignoring ability, save for like one doom on a card you control. I'm very curious to see what the what the investigator starter deck Marie Lambeau is going to be, because I can't imagine her being doom focused to the extent that this one is. Like, there might be some like doom adjacent stuff she can do, but people don't want to fuck with doom. People just don't want to fuck with it. They're just like, do I want to deal with this? No. I just don't want to even like think about it. It's I think that her card pool is, it's like Finn's, but more open, because she can basically be Mystic 05, right? Her ability is good, right? Being able to get extra actions helps you win games, right? But I don't think she's bad. I think she should be in the C tier. So I'm going to put her there. Rita Young. Did I play her this year? I did. I did play Rita this year. I played her in Eric's blind run through the Feast of Hemlock Vale. And she struggled. But my thought process was Hemlock Vale rewards chip damage and like succeeding by a lot. So I kind of put the two together, and I think that she kind of faltered because of that. She got Dirty Fighting a few years ago, but she hasn't really received that much since, chat. Am I missing anything that Rita Young has received since Dirty Fighting? I don't think so. Hatchet? Yeah, Hatchet. Hatchet, yeah. Long shot? Yeah. Can I be real? I think the fact that I forgot about those cards means that they probably weren't that great, or like Rita hasn't been that good for a while, maybe? Because like I think of like String Along. I'm fucking with. No, she can't play String Along. String Along is not. That's a talent. I fell into that trap. I played that by accident in my first run, the first scenario with Eric, and then I was like, wait a minute, this is a talent, not a trick, so I took it out. I'm gonna put Rita in the C tier. I don't think she's improved that much, and I think that other investigators have improved more than she has with some of the recent cards. Like, she did get Longshot and Hatchet, which I think are good cards, but I think I'd rather play those in other investigators, and I think they just improved better than she did. So I'm going to put Rita down in the C tier. Rita's been all over my fucking tier lists, but that's because I think she's gotten better, and then Legacy grew, and she hasn't really scaled to the same extent that other investigators have. She is very good with Longshot, I'm not going to deny that. And Hatchet is an okay card. I think Hatchet is a little bit glazed more than I think it's worth, but I'm going to put it in the C tier. Tommy Muldoon, the rookie cop. I'm very excited to see what the new Tommy is for the new starter decks. Oh, we're in Dream Eaters? Get ready for the S tier to get some boosts. S tier is going to improve a little bit. We're going to get some more S tier additions coming up right away. I'm going to put Tommy in the C tier. I'm playing Tommy right now, but it's for a challenge run that doesn't really have any proper footing for an assessment. I also hope he gets his motorcycle. That would be cool. I mean, I think Tommy's going to be asset-based again, but I think he's going to be asset-based in a different way. Whenever subtitle just be the cop, I'll take it. That would actually be really fun. I hope they do that. I think the thing about Tommy is I've never seen a player bring Tommy and like have a smooth ride. There's always been struggles, just like with Roland. I love what he can do with his like survivor pool and his 3 book. I think that's like a really cool thing that he can use to advance the game. But I still think that he's just like, to me, he's like Roland. He's the quintessential C investigator. Mandy Thompson. I'm going to put her in the A tier. She's a 5-book seeker, so that's kind of hard to beat. Like, that's a really good place to be. Her ability has gotten worse for 2 reasons. One is the obvious taboo, but the idea for that is that you just take 50 amazing cards and you don't care what you hit, right? Like, she's kind of just like the opposite of what she was when she first came out, which was that you were like hyper focused to find a combo, right? When she had her 30 card deck, she was insane with it. And now with the big deck, you just take the best thing you can find, right? And odds are it's going to be a very good thing because you have a very good card pool. Travis has actually, funnily enough, only played Mandy with a 50 card deck. So when the taboo happened, he's like, yeah, it's changed nothing for me, which I find very, very fun. But he's also a god of searching. I don't get it. He's very good at it. The second thing they've done for Mandy, which I actually think is a bigger knock on her than her taboo, is the fact that they just stopped printing search cards, which I think was an awful solution. I think it's actively the incorrect decision. And it's my hope that they do not continue to do that with this chapter 2. So yeah, those 2 things have brought Mandy down, the taboo, but to a lesser extent, because funnily enough, one of the best, strongest Mandy decks that Travis brought to the table was, again, a 50 card Mandy deck. I think all right, Dice Gods. What's out there that is good for Mandy that is identical for literally every other Seeker? Sure, the extra card draw is good. Obviously, Rook is still good even as an action, but I think you're overrating her. All right, so let's just talk about that. 5-book. That's where we're starting. So her baseline already is very good, right? Like, her baseline already is just very good. And it's the fact that there are still a large variety of search cards that are very powerful that she can still take advantage of, right? I heard that Travis cheats as he searches. Yeah, that's what people cope and say when someone is better than them. So maybe that's just my cope. I'm like, Travis has got to be cheating. He searches so well. So, like, she's up here for 2 reasons. One is the 5-book. 5-book can't be beat. Number 2, she has one of the best forms of deck building that this game has. You can save identically for literally every other Seeker, but what other Seeker can tap into Rogue, Mystic, and what's the last one she can get? She can get Survivor, right? Like, what other Seeker can tap into those cards at the amount of cards that she can tap into, right? And also, it's another thing is I think, by extension, the community is bad at Arkham because they just see the 50 cards and they immediately think, I can't do anything with that. When again, the majority of time that I've seen people bring, that I've seen like Travis bring Mandy, it's always been a 50 card deck, right? Like, that is just like where it's been. I feel like people just see Mandy as the 50 card deck and they're like, oh, she can't be played anymore. I think the taboo doesn't matter that much. That's why I said the taboo, and more importantly, that they stopped printing search effects to the extent that they have. But there are still a large variety of search effects that can really get the job done. You can play Research Librarian to bring out Old Book of Lore, and that's like on par. She does it, in my mind, onto the same level that Daisy Walker does. She doesn't get to do it as a free action, but she can get 2 cards from the search, which is insane to do that with. If she can't do it for herself, doing it for somebody else is also insane. I think that while you might say that there's nothing that she can do and I might be overrating her, I think you are underrating searches. That's what I think it is. Because, like, finding the search is, like, having the ability to search and find the best thing of those cards is an insane ability. It's absolutely insane. Her book is also the biggest. Yeah, that is a really big book. And also, I'm never, the other bottom line is in my tier lists, I am never going to put a 5-book Seeker below A. It is literally impossible for me to look at a Seeker with 5-book and think that they're going to be lower than A tier. Unless their ability was can investigate or some other thing, there's just like no way. They're all, 5-book already makes you better than every Seeker below it. Like, that's the other thing, right? Like, 5-book is insane. It's better than 5-fist. It's just like and I'm of the opinion that 5-book should have never happened. There should never have been a 5-book investigator. It's too good. It's way too powerful. Tony Morgan! That's an S tier for me, brother. This guy can fucking fight. This guy can fight like an absolute machine. He is the best fighter in the game. His damage output can be insane. All right, Dice Gods, I'm not going to interface with this anymore. I'm sorry. I'll stand by your right to say it, but in order to move ahead in the video, I have to move on. I'll just say again, I think that the diluting the search might just mean that you're not as good at searching, right? Like, I think that's what it comes down to it. That's something that, okay, I have to move on. I have to cover up Dice God's sentence. It's making me angry. All right. Tony Morgan, 5-fist. He fights like a machine. He just plays switchblades and he goes absolutely crazy with it. And he uses guns really well. A big problem with the rogue card pool was that their weapons were designed around Skids O'Toole, who has 3-fist. So when Tony came with 5-fist, he just like cracked those weapons wide open to an extent that I don't know if the investigators foresaw. I think that Tony Morgan would still be A tier if he had 4-fist. But the fact that he has 5-fist, he gets all these actions and he gets extra resources is just like absolutely mental. It's an insane place for an investigator to be. I've never seen him run out of bounties. He has the best deck building in the game, the tricolor deck build. It's no surprise that every investigator with that deck building is one of the strongest investigators in the game, right? So, like, if you think about the 4 that we have, they're all A tier minimum. Carson Sinclair, Mandy Thompson, Tony Morgan, Gloria Goldberg, right? Like, that is an insane deck building to have. And it's one of those things where it seems like it was designed to be like very restrictive, but it's actually incredibly open. Like, being able to have, it's not as good as like an O2, but the fact is that, like, if Tony Morgan 1 year with one set of cards was best with like Seeker 01, but then suddenly next year he got Guardian cards that made him better for that, he can just improve with the card pool in the way that like Trish or Leo couldn't bounce between them, right? Like, that's like what's well, not Leo, I guess. Skids could bounce between them, right? Like, that's like the power where that deck building lies. It's just incredibly open. And I already spoiled where Gloria and Carson were going to be. They're going to be up very high, but everyone kind of knew that about Gloria. But yeah, insane investigator, and probably should have had 4-fist. Maybe 3-foot to compensate. I've also never died. Like, I mean, maybe it happened once, but are you saying you think this is better than 5-2 deck building? I think it's better than 5-2 deck building. I think 5-2 deck building is very good, and I think very open for the investigator. But the thing is I think that the this tricolor deck building is better because it's more adaptable, right? Because let's just say, for example, let's look at Tony Morgan and Skids, right, into this. Tony Morgan and they each get rogue cards, but they get some guardian cards, right? The guardian cards in one cycle might have been really good, but in the next cycle they were really bad. But Tony Morgan got some amazing survivor cards, right? Like, it's like looking at Dream Eaters, how he could play like brute force, right? Or bring like sharp vision for somebody else. Skids O'Toole doesn't have that versatility, right? Like, even if they had the exact same stat line, right? Skids O'Toole would always be 0502, but Tony Morgan can change from 0501 Guardian, 0501, I mean, not assets, of course, Seeker or Survivor. He can be literally the best version he can be with every set that releases. It's versatile, and versatility just naturally makes you better than people who do not have that versatility. And I think that's, to me, why it's better. I think for various limited deck building, it makes sense. I think it makes sense even for Legacy. I think it makes sense even for Legacy, right? Because every year, everybody gets stronger in theory, right? But people who have more options get stronger than the people with less options. It's why we were just talking about how the Dunwich one is outclassed, because everything else has gotten better, right? But Tony Morgan gets better 3 different ways. Skids O'Toole gets better, well, he gets really better in 4 different ways. Skids O'Toole gets better in 2 different ways. Like, yeah, he has more to draw from, but Tony, Gloria, Mandy, and Carson, their card pools grow more than everybody else's card pools. So even in Legacy, I think it's one of those things that, I mean, there's a reason why these investigators with this deck building are so strong, right? And some of it is stat line, but if we look at Carson Sinclair, it's not all stat line. It's because the deck building is just so damn good. Luke Robinson. Dude's crazy too, right? Dude's crazy with it. His ability to move around the board and break the game is insane. He has 2 abilities. He's an investigator that gets 2 abilities just because, you know, they thought 1 wasn't enough. Like, can we be real? Do you guys think, I mean, Luke Robinson would still be broken if his ability was only the movement one, right? But his ability, he would still be a very good investigator, even if his ability was only the event at another location one, right? Like, this guy is kind of, he's got like 2 baller-ass abilities. It's like stapled together into an investigator that's just nutso with it. He has a really good deck building pool, right? The Mystic 05, Seeker 02. And he has a stat line of that you have to work for it a bit. But it kind of just shows where sometimes, not looking at you, Skids, an ability can go against a stat line to just be that damn good. His ability being a lightning bolt is insane. I believe his gatebox can be discarded, right? Because you start with it in play. It's not a permanent. So yeah, you can discard it. Which is not going to happen because he has like 4 brain. So like you're also a mystic, so you can just like cancel it. I wouldn't be upset if his gatebox was tabooed to only be during the investigator phase. I think it's kind of crazy that you can do it during the enemy phase. Currently workshopping a Luke deck where I'm essentially ignoring his ability, focus on the gatebox. Oh yeah, no, it'll be great, because I know I've done that. I very rarely actually use his ability. I'm mostly using his gatebox. Luke's crazy. He's sick with it. I need a cough drop. My voice is getting scratchy. I can feel it. Yeah, he creates a lot of problems, and it's probably good that he's gone, and we should never see another version of this kind of investigator again. Anything that kind of just nullifies a part of the game is probably not healthy. Very fun to play with. Patrice Hathaway. So I will say before anything else, I think that Patrice is a very fun investigator to play. How strong do I think she is? Well, I think she's very... It depends, right? It depends so much on her... on her hand that she gets each turn. I've always seen a Patrice do good. I'm also curious to see Izzy make use of the same deck building. I think that's something I really like. I really like with them revisiting deck pools, especially with investigators that are non-gimmick investigators. And again, Isabel seems like an insane investigator. I think she's going to be very powerful. Where am I putting Patrice Hathaway? It's going to be one of these two because I'm kind of like stuck right in the middle. B or C tier? My heart wants her in the B tier, but my gut wants her in the C tier. She did get some really good cards in Drowned City, it's true. With the discard cards. That's where I am, Dice Gods. She's super fun, but yeah, not super strong. You convinced me to go with my gut. Yeah, no, I think you're right. She's very fun. She's one of the most fun investigators to play, but she has to work for it, and that's what the C tier is. Nathaniel Cho, he's going to go up into the A tier. I think this dude is really sweet. His biggest problem is that he only has one deck, right? All he can do is play, I mean, like, you can do other things. I know someone's going to be like, I brought guns and it was fun. Yeah, but, like, you need to find, like, card advantage. Like, he's not like Diana, where, like, so much of his deck is shaped around... He is, with the box. I'm trying to figure out how to formulate this sentence. If you don't play the boxing gloves in Nat Cho, you need to find another way of card advantage, or you will fall behind. And the reason why people always play boxing gloves with Nat Cho is because it's like the perfect form of card advantage for his ability, and it makes all the events more likely to hit. But because of that, even though you can build other Nat Cho decks, you're kind of locked into finding solutions to the problem that you were creating by not including boxing gloves in your deck. With all that said, he is definitely the most efficient goon. He requires the least and can do the most with this. You've died more with Nat Cho than any other investigator. Interesting. I guess his 6 horror does add up, right? Book of War, yeah, Book of War would be a nice alternative. But he's good. He's good. A tier, not S tier though, because I think he does have some weaknesses that come with it. And I think that because a lot of the time Guardian has the ability to soak and survive, and Nat Show doesn't really have that same... Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Yeah, that he has less space for defensive cards because so much of his deck is eaten up by the events and stuff that he has to play to use his ability. Harvey Walters. I'm going to also put him up in the A tier. Cards win card games, right? That's just the reality, right? Drawing cards means you're more likely to win card games. I think the biggest weakness I have with Harvey is that while Seeker is an amazing card pool, I think that his deck doesn't scale as well as upgrading, because I think the majority of the card power in Seeker is actually on the lower end of the experience pool, right? I think that he is very good if you, like, do fast draw. I agree with that. But I think that also, like, fast draw is good with a lot of investigators, right? I think that he makes this fast draw better because he's doing more drawing. I think my favorite personal thing about Harvey Walters is that he can help other people out too. I like the supportive side for it. The issue with him is that he makes it really easy to loop your deck fast. He does, but I think he also has a weakness that you have to plan for it if that is your game plan. I'm not even talking about doing big hand, right? But taking multiple hits from that can be pretty problematic if you don't have plans for it. And if you do have plans for it, that's eating into space to do other things, right? Like, I think like the whole consideration of the signature weakness, I think, comes into play with these investigators that come with it, right? Like, Rex's signature weakness isn't anything. Tony's can be a problem, but also can be a benefit. Luke's can be annoying. I mean, it killed Travis and turned him into a Monculus. But I think Harvey Walters is a little bit more warping than those ones. Because I think if Harvey Walters, to me, is like knocking on the door to S tier, right? So, but I think the thing keeping him back for me is the card pool, which sounds funny, but I do think, again, there is some slight glazing for the high experience Seeker pool. I think like Trish, for example, is stronger than Lucius. And also the fact that his weakness is something you do need to consider even if you are deck looping. There's ways around it. I'm not saying there isn't. But that is taking space, whether it be actions, experience, cards, that make it a little bit more relevant than some of the others, I think. Winnie can be in my B tier. I think she's a good investigator. But there's no such thing as a bad Seeker card. Believe you me, there are a few. Have I missed the annual love letter for Rankin and Gators? No, I mean, you haven't. You've missed some of it, but we haven't even got to the second slideshow yet. Winifred's a good investigator. Her ability is very fun. Her deck building is good, to the extent that she gets the high experience rogue cards, but she also has to play with the lower experienced rogue cards. We're not as great as some of the other ones. Just kind of like the reversed Harvey for that matter, in my opinion. The problem that I think that I've seen with Winifred's is that she can crash and burn pretty bad. which is funny and flavorful because she is like the whole like anything you can do better, and then she's a little bit of a daredevil when it comes to it. But the highs of Winifred are very good. But is it like one of those things where I guess sometimes when I've played Winifred's and I've seen people play Winifred's, is she actually good, or are you just like doing tricks for minimal gain? Is like really what I've seen for a lot of Winifred's. And I think by no, I don't think she's bad. I think she's very good, but maybe I just haven't seen a Winifred go nuts, right? And maybe that's on me. Maybe I need to watch someone actually like do the popping off with Winifred's that I've heard people say they've popped off with. But again, B tier is not a bad rating. If you proc her ability every turn, she is very good. I mean, yeah, but I also think that's true for like every investigator, right? Isn't that true for like every investigator? Like, isn't that the goal when you're playing an investigator, to try to proc their ability every turn? But I do, yeah, I think that's a good point. She's very momentum based. And if you lose that momentum, that really stings. And she has gotten more, yeah, the rogue pool has gotten better. And I'm excited to see what they do with the new core for her. Yeah, I mean, Mateo's ability would be insane if you could use it every turn, huh? Try to proc that every turn. But hers is doable with Underworld. Which Underworld? Market or Connections or Support? There's too many Underworlds in Arkham. Support? Yeah, she could do that. I don't know how crazy I find that personally to be with Winifred. I think it's neat, but I only really want to play Underworld support in one investigator, and for me personally, it's not Winifred. So to me, that's not really a selling point. Jacqueline, fine. She's got to be A tier, right? Her ability is just very good. Like, even scratching everything else, she's just pure mystic. She's very dull. Like, let's not pretend she's fun to play. Let's not, like, she's like the inverse Winnie, you know? Like, Winifred is very fun to play and can do a lot of really cool things. And Jacqueline is just, like, dull as hell. But she's gonna most likely win you the game. But man, is she boring as hell. Yeah. I don't really have much to say about Jacqueline. She just grabs tokens and she makes you more likely to pass tests. She is very excited to try to figure out when you use 4 abilities on the same token draw. That is a fun puzzle. You're not wrong there. Yeah, I'm just going to put her in A tier, and I have no other comment. Nothing else really to say about her. Stella Clark. Okay, I'm very conflicted in Stella Clark because I feel like she was once crazy powerful, and I think that somehow, and I can't even figure out why, I feel like she's gotten weaker with every expansion that's come out. And that doesn't really make sense. So am I just really out to lunch on this one? I feel like she peaked. It's because survivors have gotten stronger every release across the board. She ate well with Gift of Notice was than everyone else. It makes sense that every expansion come out has given us more tools to pass tests. I'll tell you right now, Lord Blink, if you comment on the YouTube comments, I will ban you from commenting. If you want to argue, I'll just, only you, I'll take the shotgun to your account. Bam! No, well, while I'm thinking on Stella, we can talk about that, what you guys are talking about, Jacqueline, here. Being A at everything should be S. I don't personally agree with that statement. I think being A at everything is A. Right? Like, if I'm good at everything, but only... Like, I think that's just an A tier. If I'm A at everything, why do I get to round it up to an S, right? What's the thought process behind that? Because, like, yeah, averaging A is an A. That's why I'm kind of confused by that. Jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, well, she's kind of a master. I mean, she's mystic jack of all trades, so she's kind of master of all. Most investigators only A at one aspect. Yeah. She's master of all. But couldn't we, in theory, make that about every mystic investigator? Right? Like, aren't all, like, she... Like, that's the thing. Like, what's the difference between Agnes using... Like, how is Agnes and Jacqueline different, is what I want to ask. She goes harder with most other mystics than, like, Sixth Sense 4. But that's not A in everything! That's A in Sixth Sense 4! What are you even talking about? Her ability is dramatically better than Agnes. Yeah, but the thing is, when you're investigating at 7 with a mystic spell, why does the ability matter? Why would I use Jacqueline's ability when I'm investigating at 7? Sorry, when I'm using a spell asset at 7? The level 2 Read and Razor? So many mystics do that already on the same level. You just get all of a McBride 2 and it's the same fucking thing. I think you guys are out to lunch. I think that she's on par with the other mystics with that stuff. I always love passionate justice. I'm annoyed because their arguments are bad. I don't see their arguments. I understand their arguments are coming in snippets, so, like, they can't really... This isn't, like, a good place for actual discussion. So I'm not saying they're wrong. I just don't understand what they're saying. No, I think Agnes is worse than Jacqueline. I think Jacqueline is better than Agnes. But I don't follow the logic of A's and everything means S. Because to me, personally, S is like... if you see all these guys, I think the S guys are all, like, a little bit unfair in some aspect. Jacqueline can come in clutch for teammates too. She can, but I don't think that makes S for me personally. All right. We'll give it a few more time, because I still haven't settled on Stella. Jacqueline used to be S tier. Being an A at everything is unfair? No, but that's what mystics are. That's what mystics are. Because, like, let's be real for a second. Jacqueline isn't a master of everything. She needs to have other things to support it, right? And in the same comments can be said about pretty much any other mystic, right? It's fine, we just put Stella in C and move on. Amen. Oh, no, the versatility is very good. To go back to the base of the tier list, if I see Jacqueline in my team, I know it'll be an easy campaign. Yeah, but I also say that about like any of these A-tier investigators as well, right? Also, fun question about Jacqueline. What's the longest you guys have had her ability, her signature weakness in play? Because that's a nightmare. My longest, I think, was 5 rounds. That was a shitty scenario. Now, of course, that's the outlier, but has anyone had a worse than 5 rounds with her signature weakness in play? Because, man, that was a shitty scenario. It's always nice when it goes away like the turn that you get it, but if it lasts for a long time... So wait for the sentence, what's the longest you've drawn her neck? Oh, I've drawn... Let's get it. You did this, chat. You did this. This is what we get. No, it always really grinds my gears when I put something in the A tier and then someone says, actually, it should be S tier. It's like they're so close. They're so close to each other. If I would rather, if I was like, I put something in D tier and someone said, I actually think they're B tier. I'm like, okay, now there's a conversation. But to me, S and A is splitting hairs, and I fucking hate splitting hairs. I hate it. Anyways, let's go to Stella Clark, and we're going to put her in the B tier, and then we're going to move on without much explanation. I just think it's like the Wendy Adams thing. I think it's just kind of fallen out of favor a little bit. I think she's still good, but I think every other survivor has kind of improved more than her over time. Slideshow change, but first we're going to take a little break. I'm going to pause the video, and then we're going to set up for the next one. YouTube, don't go anywhere. All right, good news, bad news. Good news is we're more than halfway through. Bad news is we're on pace for the exact same length of video that we had last year, which was pretty wrong. No, that's actually funny, Johnito. So I was just telling chat before this that when I make these tier list videos, I'm not doing it to prove that I'm right or like try to tell other people they are wrong. I'm trying to show my own thoughts and assessments for these investigators, for playing them for a year and watching other people play them for a year. I do sometimes say things where I'm like, if you don't like Mandy at 50, you're bad at searching. But that's just, again, that's like my own rationale. I'm not saying that that's just like me saying that's what I think about this. Like, if someone was like, you're just bad at, like, you're not playing the right version of Jenny because you're not using the Green Man medallion, so your opinion on her is bad. I'm like, that's fair. Like, that might be the case, right? But the thing is that even then, like they say, Johnito says, just put just my opinion at the top. When I did that in a recent video, someone asked, are you okay? Because you clarified a lot at the start of this video that this was just your opinion. So it's like, you can't win. No, anything you do, you can't win, right? Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing, right? Like, even Valentin, who makes some incredible decks for Arkham, we have very different play styles, so our opinions are always going to be different. And I think it's really fun to be able to have this period of banter with them about their opinions on these investigators, right? Because just because, like, to Winifred, you were like, Winifred's an A for me. And for me, Winifred's a B, and that's what makes Arkham so freaking cool, right? And maybe if I watched Valentin play a Winifred deck, I'd be like, oh, I see what they're saying. But because I haven't experienced it, this is just like my own experience with these investigators over the last year. With all that said, Sister Mary is a C-tier investigator. She's fair, and I think she has moments of moments of excitement, but overall, I think that she is just a little bit on the weaker side. Her weaknesses are exploited more than what it is, and I think that unfortunately she's also kind of been outclassed by the parallel investigators that work with Blessed. I think it's just unfortunate for Sister Mary. By the way, E. Forrest, thank you for the 5 gift subs. Much appreciated. That's your 23rd gift sub to the channel. Holy hell, thank you for your continued support. I really appreciate it. Amanda Sharp. You know what? She has all 2s in her stat box. That's got to be pretty bad, right? Just kidding. Just kidding. So you know how earlier I said that Rex Murphy would be the... if this was a competitive game, Rex Murphy would be like the S-tier Kluver for like the meta. I think Amanda would be also up there with it, with the ability to be probably the only investigator that could beat that deck. I think at her strongest, Amanda Sharp is the most powerful investigator in the game and the most problematic design they've ever made for an investigator. I think that it's always a little bit tough to put her at S tier when you look at like everything else I've talked about in my opinions for this tier list video, where Amanda has times where she has a big chance of stumbling if you don't know how to play her properly, right? But if you know how to play Amanda properly, it's disgusting what you can do with her and for how versatile her gameplay can be and the decks that she can bring, right? I remember when I played her, I played her last year when Daniel and I did our curse run, and we were on our second scenario of At Death's Doorstep, and I was like, oh no, we've won. It's over. We've won the campaign. I just like knew the deck was ready to be there, to be that good. And yeah, then also that was played before she got Enraptured too, which is a disgusting card for Amanda Sharp, and it would have been incredible in that deck. Amanda's insane. I love playing her. She is probably my second favorite investigator in the entire game. I have not had more fun playing this game except for Silas Marsh when I play Amanda. And I think that unfortunately not many people like to play with an Amanda. Because she kind of just eats up so much time and space. So I don't get to bring her out as much as I'd like to. I still gotta make Eric watch me play an Amanda deck, though. Do you think that's what I should do with Scarlet Keys? Alright, Trish Scarborough. She's an easy A-tier investigator. She is getting stronger every time we see her. I'm very curious to see what her deck building, well, not what her deck building, we pretty much know what her deck building is going to be, but we have an assumption of what her deck building is going to be, but I'm very curious to see what her ability is in the new core set. And I think what makes Trish so good is that she has the best deck building in the game. Her ability is very good, but she has the best deck building in the game. Everyone thought it was going to be Lucius, and Lucius is still very good, right? Like, he's still a very good investigator, but Trish is special, and she's kind of like Will Yorick, where you can keep finding decks that she's really good with, and it's because foundationally she's so strong because she has the rogue economy and the seeker card draw, right? And that's what makes her just like so open and powerful. You can do whatever you want because everything built around you is really good. Dexter Drake. I'm going to put him in a B tier investigator. I think that he is good, but I think he definitely has his weaknesses. This is something that someone in the comments said earlier when we were talking about Marie. He's also probably the best Doom investigator because he can just discard things from play. I had a hard time with Dexter for a while, trying to figure out exactly how I was supposed to play him, because I saw Bryn play Dexter really well, and it just never really worked for me. And it made me very sad, because I thought Dexter was really cool and engaging. And then it clicked for me somehow, because I just like got less attached to things. And he became very fun when that happened. It's still also one of my favorite moments when I mentioned in a video that I didn't know how to play Dexter, and then Travis in the comments linked me a video to our own expanded guide for Dexter. I thought that was really funny, and I look back at that moment fondly. But Dexter is a good investigator. Silas Marsh, I think, is also... so I'm torn on Silas, everybody. Because I play Silas a lot, and I play him very well. If I was going on just based on my own play pattern with Silas Marsh, I think he would be A tier. But I think realistically, not everyone I've seen play Silas Marsh is able to do it like I do. So I think because of that, as much as I want to put him in A tier, I think I need to put Silas in B tier. He's a fighter who has to work for it. And if you know how to like make it work, it works really well. But if you don't know how to make it work, it's going to be a problem. He's going to like have issues. You have to go hard on your commitments. It kind of reminds me a lot actually of what we were saying, what Valentine and I were saying about Winifred, where like maybe in the right hands, I can see why this is an A tier. And it's like with Silas, I think the same sort of thing. Where it's the same sort of vibe where how are you able to make these pieces work? And you have to be able to figure that puzzle out and not waste your resources and know how to best spend your resources. But when you do, he's very good. Daniela Reyes is an A tier fighter. I think she is... I've said previously that I thought she was better than even Mark Harrigan. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that now, but I think she's on like the same level as him. Her ability is very good. Her ability is a very powerful ability. If you get your wrench with her, it's like absolute nutter butters. Like she can just do amazing things with it. Yeah, she's definitely on like the higher tiers of fighter. Obviously, Fire Extinguisher worked really well for her, but I'm pretty sure that came out on Edge of the Earth. I'm very curious. I mean, we don't know her ability officially, like not through a release article, but there's been that back of the box by another FFG that kind of had that. But like her ability is insane. And her card pool is actually very good. There are good tools to fight with there. I remember the Lyle Dark Matter playthrough. Yeah, he played Amanda in that one? No, he played Amanda in Innsmouth. Feel like a card draw in her card pool. I mean, what more do you need than Take Heart and Glory? That'll be a good one. Then you throw in a resourceful to recur things. Oh boy. But yeah, no, I can see that. There's definitely like you have to kind of like go for card draw that is not like easy card draw. It's a little bit more like card draw that you have to kind of solve and figure out. But yeah, Daniela Reyes, A tier. Norman Withers, great investigator. I'm going to put him in the A tier as well. His ability is very good, right? Like being able to play with the top card of your deck revealed as an extra card in your hand that you can then like play for one less is really nice. He has a lot of really cool loops that he can take advantage of. His stat line is insane for what he does, where there's kind of this weird thing where like him and Danielle actually share this similar thing where a lot of these Edge of the Earth investigators get better at what they grow into, but like Norman Withers kind of like is just like really good to go at the start. Same with Daniela, right? So it's kind of like a weird thing where they're like really good at level 0 and like still good in the higher experience, but they kind of lose a little bit of their luster, I think. Unless you're like trying to do like a combo deck that comes with it. I love playing Norman. There's a lot of cool decks that work with him as well. I like that he has I like that he has some weird decks that he can do. I really like this Summon Servitor Norman deck that I built in the past. That was a really fun thing. I might bring it out again at another Patron Game Day in the near future. I think he's he's just a sweet guy. Monterey Jack. He's a little bit awkward. Because he has that weird thing where, like, he wants that, like, level 0 Seeker, and he doesn't get it. And he does upgrade into good cards, but he gets, like, the worst, not the worst part, because Rogue and, I mean, all card pools are good. But he gets, like, the non-preferred part of both the Rogue and the Seeker card pool. You know? Like, every class is good. But some classes have their power kind of like fixated on like one area of their card pool, right? So Seekers, they have really good level 0 cards. And Rogues have really good level like 2 to 5 cards. And Monterey, and like they have good ones in the other ones, right? They have like really good ones in the other ones. But they don't really have you're like missing like the prime part of those classes. And I'm not saying that this guy's unplayable, but I think I'm gonna put him in. Yeah, because he also his ability is like linked to movement. I think he's worse than Ursula. And I think he's a whole tier worse than Ursula. I'm gonna put him down in the C tier. Yeah. Yeah. Lily Chen is a very good B-tier investigator. I like Lily Chen. I've liked all the decks I've built with Lily Chen. I've never been like disappointed in a Lily Chen deck that I brought. But even as your stats get better, you get more weaknesses in your deck as well, which is a nice balancing mechanic, but it's one of those things where while other investigators are getting stronger, you're getting stronger, but you're kind of also staying the same. Because you're going to lose more draw. You have the abilities that you can use on your disciplines, which are really good, and some of them are nice to flip back and forth. Your stat line does get better. Your card pool, you upgrade really nicely. But it's one of those things where just as you upgrade, because you're adding more weaknesses into your deck, you're not really growing at the same level that other investigators are with the same experience. Like, the theory is that you get more stats and you get more abilities, but stats can't really do... They're good, but, like, stats need to be amplified by what's around it. And the reality is that only really, like, usually only the first 2 disciplines you choose matter. Because everything else is kind of just gravy after the fact. But you're still getting those 2 weaknesses that come with it, right? But she's very fun, and I love playing her. I really enjoy it. Bob Jenkins, I think, is another B-tier investigator. Probably the most awkward level 0 deck. I think she was, but I think Runic Axe really solved that problem for her. But if you're not doing Runic Axe, yeah, I would say so. Bob is good. He can play Scavenging 0, which is nice because I think he does it really well. I feel like they shouldn't have done the taboo for Eon Chart, because I think that was a really fun deck that Bob Jenkins was able to take advantage of. and with like Joey Durant here to get stuff back and then scavenge it. I'd rather if they targeted like scavenging earlier, but it's in the past. I mean, I've been saying this, and I hope they do it. I hope when the taboo list, like when Legacy actually happens, I hope they just remove a bunch of stuff from the taboo list, and I think Eon Charts should be removed from the taboo list when that happens. Because I think that letting these guys, if they want Legacy to be the hyper-powered format, let it be the hyper-powered format, right? And I think that that would be a really, really fun thing to have happen, because that Bob Joey deck was really, really enjoyable. And it's unfortunately not legal anymore. But Bob is a B tier. B for Bob. We have to say it. We actually can't put him in another tier. He sues us if we do that. Carson Sinclair. I mentioned this earlier in the video, but this guy's an A tier. This guy has had such a weird journey, huh? Who here was around when he was first spoiled? And everyone's reactions to this investigator. Do you guys remember that? He was very reviled. That's a great word for it, too. That's an A+ word for this. If this was a tier list for words, I'd put that in the A tier for sure. This guy, people thought he was going to eat ass. I didn't think he was going to eat ass when he first came out, but I thought that, I was like, I wish he had 4 brain. And while I do stand by my thought that I wish he had 4 brain, because I think it would open up his deck building a little bit more, turns out he's very good. And turns out it's very hard to kill him. But I think the deck is eaten up a little bit by his need to stay alive, but his ability to support the team is crazy, right? Like he basically takes actions every turn as other investigators, which means that if you have Tony Morgan, he's basically Tony Morgan for an action. If the other one's Norman Withers, that's Norman Withers for an action, which means you get like extra helpings of S and A tier investigators. The other thing that I learned from that was that, you know what, maybe the community's reactions are a little bit over the top sometimes, and I don't need to, I need to like step away from initial assessment when we see cards and wait till things are actually in our hands to play with before we start banking on things, because first Carson, then the masks, and I think that overall it's just like, oh, you know what? I think things are better when we wait and see, because people thought Carson was going to be unplayable. Turns out he's very, very good. So A tier for Carson. Vincent Lee. I think Vincent, like Carolyn, is a B tier investigator. I think his design is really good. I think that he is a very good mirror to Carolyn Fern without being a direct reflection, right? If his was just the same ability but card draw, I think that it would have been very good, but I think it would have been very boring. I think their On the Mend thing for this was a very cool way of having it be card draw, but kind of like a little bit more restricted. My only note for Vincent Lee is I wish he was a 3-3-4-1, but otherwise I love his design. He's very fun to play. I've pulled him out a few times and just had a really good time playing with the dude. So, I like him. I like him quite a bit. Kimani Jones, I'm also going to put in the B tier. I think Kimani has peaked, and they haven't gotten great support since their release. And there hasn't really been anything that is like, I mean, there's string along, but that also like works for other investigators as well, right? Like if Kimani was bad and had to engage the enemies, I could see string along for that, but like every rogue that evades was boosted by string along. And even then, like with string along, I'm looking to replace that with pickpocketing 2 almost immediately. I think that Kimani has their weaknesses when it comes to elite enemies, which I think is a good space for Kimani to be. I love watching Keimani handle small enemies. Keimani with a stealth 2 is absolutely crazy. But I don't think they are enough to be up in the A tier with all of the homies up here. I think Keimani is good, but I think Keimani hasn't grown that much with some recent sets, and I think that overall Keimani has struggles. has struggles that sometimes expose their weaknesses, even though they do have some really good strengths. Amina Zidane. Amina Zidane. All right, we're going to just hover around down here for a bit. Okay. I was kind to Amina in the past because I believed, but unfortunately, I actually haven't seen an Amina do anything, so I'm going to have to put her in F tier this year. I'm really sorry, Astute. I know that you love Amina, and I had faith, but I haven't seen her do anything that's like... That's just what it is. That's the only way I can put it, is that I just haven't seen an Amina. No one's brought her to a game day, and I think that's just because she's a little bit there. I actually haven't played the new Blood of Thoth either, the untabooed version, because I actually think it's a crime against Arkham. Not because it's overpowered, but because it's too much taboo. They should have just, like, said, hey, here's a new card, you know? But, I mean, I'll be happy to be proven wrong, and then, like, this time next year, maybe be like, congratulations, Amina, you're gonna move back up to D tier. Yeah. Daryl Simmons. This guy's an easy A tier for me. I don't think he's S tier. And I understand, that there's a lot of people who do find Daryl to be an S-tier investigator. And honestly, more power to you. More power to you if you believe that. I personally don't believe it because I've seen Daryl's who do great, and I've seen Daryls who lose all their evidence, have a hard time amassing evidence, and then also, like, some campaigns just aren't Daryl's forte, right? Like, if you compare Circle Undone, which has cards enter play all the time, or Edge of the Earth, which has cards enter play all the time, with stuff like Pax Carcosa, which most of its stuff, I mean, it does have a few, but most of it's like you're going to be relying on finding enemies, right? He's the most nerfed investigator, not directly, but indirectly. I would say... Are you guys talking about the, what is it, research notes? Is that the thing that you guys are talking about here for his clue drop build? I never actually played the clue drop build or saw Shadowlight. No, I wouldn't say that. I disagree on Shadowlight. I think Shadowlight is fair at... Clue Drop and Test Zero both got nerfed quite a bit. Yeah, but yeah, but like, I think that those cards plus okay, let me let me get in here. I think that those cards affected everybody. I don't think Daryl was the best at Tested Zero. I think that every investigator in Survivor is able to do Tested Zero. I think Daryl Simmons has to spend resources differently than other people, but I've played Tested Zero to great success. So I don't connect Daryl Simmons personally to Tested Zero, because I've done it with like almost every Survivor at this point, right? I thought more about the research notes, because I hear he is very good at Clue Drop. That's the one that I hear he was very good at. And he was probably one of the only ones that I really heard anyone talking about that one, though. But yes, no, I think Volklos, again, put it really succinctly here, that Daryl is the intersection of all of those things. So I can see when people saying he was the most nerfed investigator. But I think that's a fair assessment. I don't personally agree, but I definitely think that that is a fair assessment for that. Clue drop is a waste of time, though. Was it before research notes? I hear it was very good with the untabooed research notes. But yeah, no, I think Daryl's very good. Yeah, I think the thing that just stops him from being S tier for me is that his ability can be very swingy. And most of the time when people do really well with Daryl, they're kind of bringing him to the right place, which to me implies that he might not be S tier, where you can slot him in everywhere and just have him like stomp. But I think you can slot Daryl in everywhere, and he has a very good time with it, which is where like the A tier is. It's just like A tier is kind of like I'd bring these investigators to any campaign, even Preston to the Forgotten Age. I'd bring him there a lot. Charlie Kane, great investigator. I'm going to put him up in the B tier. I think Charlie Kane is very good. I think he's very fun to play. I think he has a really good, he's a really good representation of what a neutral investigator is. I think that he is very impressive when he gets set up, but he needs a lot of time and space to get set up. So I think that's the kind of thing that kind of keeps him down, and a wrong trigger of his signature weakness can be absolutely soul-crushing for Charlie Kane. So that's why I'm going to put him in the B tier. I played him... I think I've only played Charlie once. I've only played him during Sealed, and it was a very fun time. But it was one of those things where dude's really fun to play, and he's very versatile. He's like a really good... he's really great at getting set up. In a 4-player with save space, he ultimately turns into S. I don't think he turns into S. I think he turns into A, even if he has like the space to set up when everyone can kind of make it work. But here's the thing: if you're playing 4-player and you're not like playing Arkham for the first time in your life and losing, you might be making some mistakes in your play, because you can do anything in 4-player and be all right. All right, on to Feast of Hemlock Vale. Wilson Richards, I'm going to put in the B tier. I think this guy is actually really good. I think he's a very good investigator. He has secretly 4s across the board, because why else would you be taking these tests unless the game is forcing you in the Mythos phase or to pass an objective? You're going to be using tools for everything else, so like you kind of already have those numbers. His weakness is actually very soft. I remember there was a time when I was reading on someone's Discord, not my own Discord, where people talking about Wilson, and they were like, you get his signature weakness in play and you lose the game. And I couldn't even fathom it. I was like, what do you mean you lose the game when you get his weakness in play? Like, it just doesn't, like, it doesn't actually do anything. I remember when I was playing my first Wilson run, and I got my weakness in play, and I actually just face tanked it. I didn't even like clear it out for like 4 turns, and I just killed things with a sledgehammer. So it's like I couldn't even fathom it, because even also, yeah, worst case, it's just like a 2-action discard. So that's why I just didn't even. That's also when I had to remind myself that people play Arkham differently, and that's what's important to keep in mind. Wilson has the weaknesses of card draw, but already getting True Awakening, that card draw that weakness has kind of softened a little bit, and you can get there in other ways. But I think he's a very successful all 3 investigators, and I'm actually looking forward to the next time I'm playing him. And you know what? I might even bring him to Patron Game Day this week. Now that I know still need to build 2 more decks, and they're both flexes, so maybe it's time to bring Wilson Richards back out. Kate Winthrop. I think I'm going to put her in B tier. She's good. She's a good investigator. I hate her deck building. And it's not just because of the video I made where I predicted her deck building and I was wrong. I'm not going to blame anyone or hold a grudge over Kate Winthrop, even though I think she would be a million times more fun if she was 05 Seeker, 02 Rogue, no illicit cards. It would be so fun. But yeah, I think the chat right now is that she's kind of dull to play. There's like some cool puzzles you can figure out the first time you do stuff where you can like put down multiple clues to like boost up her stuff. And it's fun the first time you do it. And you're like, wow, this is so engaging. This is so cool. And then you're like, oh, that's it? That's all I get to do for the entire campaign? Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's run it back. And the problem is you're kind of just mono seeker. And why not play other seekers that kind of go with it? I know she can get insights as well, but her deck building is just a little bit snoozy. So yeah. I don't think she's bad. She's still good. She's still a seeker, right? She just has to work for it a bit more, so I'm going to put her in B tier. Alessandra Zorzi. Our parlay mistress. I don't enjoy how she was kind of like, you can tell that she is like a retrospect design. And this is something that Duke even said, where if he could change one thing about this game, he would have it be that parlay was in there from the beginning of the game, and I think Alessandra would make a lot more sense with it. Or if parlay was even just a keyword they used more commonly on player cards from the start of the game, even just to kind of like have some things be like, this does not provoke attack opportunities. Like basically anything that involved your mouth, right? Like casting a spell that is just like from magic. Like I feel like spells could have just been parlay because they were just like talking with your mouth. I understand that's not the direct definition of parlay, but like it could have had some sort of like, it could have been slightly different from the start. I've never been I've been disappointed in an Alessandra, but that was due to the challenge run that I was playing, so I'm not going to put that weight on her. But I've never been really blown away by an Alessandra. So we're kind of just doing some tier elimination here. I think that she is not A tier, and I don't think she is C tier. So, F tier it is. No, we're going to put it in B tier. Alessandra is good, and I think that she is really nice when she gets snitch into her deck. Hey, Derby K, 8 months of the golden table. Thank you for your sub. I think she's really good when she can like start doing like the snitch stuff. She's also fine if she's doing just the rogue stuff too. So she does have that kind of going for her. Yeah, I'm just gonna put her in B tier. I think she has her weaknesses also, where like a lot of her kit wants her to rely on getting enemies. There's also the horrid balance choice they made where everything was put around fine clothes. So it's like kind of those things where like Alessandra with and without fine clothes is like a very noticeable difference. But yeah, she has a good stat line. She's still a rogue, so she can use those stats to her advantage. But she has that kind of like fluctuating because of everything built around her kit. Kohaku Narukami, our paradoxical investigator. I did not play Kohaku this year, and I have not seen anyone play Kohaku in a while. Where do we want to put him? He's definitely not A tier. He can play the best Blessed cursed cards. This guy wanted Four Fists so bad. He really did, didn't he? He's still just a mystic, though. I think I'm going to put Kohaku into C tier. I think because I was thinking like, oh, he's a mystic, he gets the high mystic spell, so that still works for him. But he only has Mystic 03. So he's missing some nice mystic spells on like the higher end, like a Brand of Cthulhu 4 or like a, not divination because he probably won't frick with them, but he could frick with that, right? I think that there's just an inherent swinginess that comes with Blessed and Cursed that you kind of just need to be aware of. So that's why I'm going to put him in the C tier, because I think he carries some baggage with him that we don't really see in just looking at him in like a one slice. And I think he definitely has weaknesses that the game can kind of expose. The 1 foot and 6 health is kind of, I think, often ignored by this guy because, yeah, he can protect himself with Mystic cards. But those Mystic cards don't scale to the point where you want to get really high with them, right? And like you're kind of locked into the paradoxical stuff with that when it gets to the higher experience. I'd like to see this guy prove me wrong, and we'll revisit him again next year. But this year, at least, we're going to leave him in the C tier. Hank Sampson is probably my least favorite investigator in the game. Mostly just because I find him to be incredibly boring. And I never feel, like, excited to play him, because I also don't think he's particularly, like, he's strong, but the one thing I do like about Hank is they did a good job of making both versions something you want to transform into, depending on what the team needs at the time or what your deck is doing. I think that is really cool. But he does have 5 fists. I don't like that he has a bigger deck size. I am not a big fan of his deck building. I think his deck building is actually really lazy. I think that this Feast of Hemlock Vale is probably the worst cycle for deck building decisions. Because he's basically just like a slapped together Silas and Kelvin. Luckily, it didn't eat Silas's lunch because Silas's lunch is very unique because of his ability. But it basically just like deleted Kelvin from the game, which is pretty bad because Kelvin, you know, doesn't have much going for him already, and now Hank has kind of just like swallowed that up a little bit. So I think the big issue with Hank is that he just doesn't really have an ability. Because, like, not dying is not, like, actually an ability. It's just, like, a perk, you know? And I know that kind of sounds like I'm saying the same thing, but it just isn't. Like, being unable to die, it doesn't help you win the game, right? Like, it doesn't give you tempo, it doesn't do all that. So, even though he does have 5 fists and he can get 6 fists, he doesn't do anything in and of himself that like gets in there. And then even when he does and he gets the ability, it's kind of just like, it is like Mark Harrigan, but by the time you get there, you have everything you need. Like, the thing about Mark Harrigan's ability is that it's giving you the ability to get advantage in the early game and then get just like treats later in the game. It's like that early game thing that can really make Mark Harrigan get that consistency to get ahead of the game when you want to get ahead. Hank can like do that, but it'll be later in the game. I don't think he's bad. And I think that like he's I can see why people enjoy playing him, but he is by no means like on the level of these homies up here, I think. Because even like compared to Daniela she's basically Hank but better. Because she's basically Hank with a killer ability. An absolutely killer ability. And only third. Also, I'm gonna just say it. I am not a big fan of the 35 deck size in Survivor. I'm okay with it in Seeker, but in Survivor, that 35 deck, it really hurts your consistency at the start of the game. It means you're gonna have to play bad cards in Hank to just make sure you can get your job done, which me no like. As the Spike, me no like. All right, on to some new additions for the tier list here. We got Marian Tavares, 2-3-4-3. She only has one hand slot, and she's really good at playing events. Okay. I'll be real with all of you. I think that the Drowned City is our strongest investigator expansion since Dream Eaters. These guys are insane. I'm going to be real with you. None of them are going to be below A tier. All 7 of these investigators are going to be A tier. I think they're at least A tier. Some of them might even be higher. It's an insane cycle for investigators. So I think what we should do is we'll just do this in order. Marian Tavares. I don't have too much to say about these investigators. I've played all of them. Well, except I haven't played Mystic Agatha. I've played all of them, and I've seen all of them played. Marian Tavares, A-tier investigator. Really good ability. She is like Nat Cho, but she is more open with what she can do. Her deck building is actually really cool. I think she has really cool deck building. She has weaknesses, which is going to keep her out of S tier, because I think that she has to plan around that 2 brain and not so much the 3 foot, but she does need to figure it out. But like Mark Harrigan, you give a Guardian card draw, they do really good things with it. Very fun when you can play fast events. Really cool investigator. I think she's popping off. I love that any investigator can get rid of her signature weakness. We did that with great effect with Travis using it as Agatha to then play those cards during his turn, which I think is really, really sweet. Lucius Galloway, A tier. Like Marian, he has weaknesses. You need to be aware of his signature weakness. You need to have plans for dealing with that. Most of that is just like grabbing the horror, and like healing the horror. Steady-handed solves it pretty well. I think that his ability is a little bit lackluster if you look at it just on the tin. But what I really like what his ability does is it allows him to be on his own, which takes some stress off the fighter, which means that the fighter can make their deck a little bit more interesting and powerful and less focused on just fighting because of that, which I think is really nice. He's really good with the Dial of the Ancients, and he's also really good with precision. So I think he is a very strong investigator. Michael McGlenn, another A tier. Really good fighter. We talked about Leo Anderson ages ago, how I feel like Leo Anderson has a better ceiling for firearm usage, but I think Michael McGlenn has a much, much higher floor than Leo Anderson. His ability gets you a lot of money over time, and his weakness does present another issue that you need to solve, and it is more of a threat than people originally assessed it to be. But that 3 brain gives you some surprising survivability that a lot of rogues are not really accustomed to having. Bryn is always shocked when he passes a test during the Mythos phase that tests Bryn when he's playing Michael McGlenn through Path to Carcosa. He's the number 2 goon. I still think it goes to me personally to Nat Cho or Mark Harrigan, but I think he's in the running. He's in the top 3. Gloria Goldberg, she is still S tier. She has not gotten worse. I don't think it's possible for her to get worse. Her new signatures are neat, but they are also very gameable. I've only seen them in action once, and they weren't too much of a stressor. But I don't think she's changed enough for her to really fall down that much. And honestly, once someone draws one, and it's just like, you know, like, does it shuffle back in if someone draws them? Or if someone draws them, do they just get, like, discarded? I don't know off the top of my head. Does anyone know in chat if they get, like, shuffled back in if someone draws them during the Mythos phase? Or do they just, like, surge and discard? They surge and discard? Oh my gosh. I love the effect that the card has, but it definitely didn't do enough to rein in her power. I love the design of it, though. I really liked the... because I made a wish list for Drowned City, and my hope was that Gloria Goldberg would fit into the 3-card thing that came in Circle and Done, and I was really happy that it came there. But unfortunately, it didn't do enough of an impact to really lock her down. And then we have George Barnaby, another S-tier investigator. Dude is really, 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 really good. He has an insane stat line. He has an insane ability. He has an insane deck building pool. He has just like an insane everything. I don't imagine him getting worse because he already has all the pieces he needs. And it's like, it's not one of those things where like some other investigators need to kind of like build around it. Like they need to like find the right pieces. He can just like start going almost immediately. And then he can just like, if he finds one in his mulligan, yeah, it's crazy the card draw he gets. Good job, George. I'm not saying as much about these guys because it's only been a year. Well, I'll hopefully have more to say about them when we revisit this tier list next year. Agatha Crane. So I think she's very good. I don't think she's... So I think both of these, both the Mystic and the Seeker, are both going to be A tiers for me. This one might be B tier, but I'm going to put it in A tier for right now. Just because I think they have a very interesting balance where like the Seeker one has a harder time triggering the reaction, but has better things to play. And the Mystic one has an easier time triggering the reaction, but has worse things to play. This, of course, is going to change as the card pool continues to grow. So I'm very curious to see where Agatha Crane is in like 4 years from now, right? I think that would be a very interesting sort of thing to see how the character has grown over time from that. So what makes Agatha Crane so good? What is it? Cryptic research? Cryptic writings? What's the draw 3 fast for experience? It's one of the cryptics. Cryptic research? Agatha got her prepared for the worst. Is her eyepiece a tool? Yeah, cryptic research, the draw 3 is very good. But then you throw out all the other insights and spells on it as well. Deciphered reality is crazy fun with her too. You know, I don't doubt it. 21 months, thanks for that, Ezekiel Abaddon. Much appreciated. But yeah, no, she's very, very good. Both of the versions are. Again, I think the Mystic one might be B tier, but I'm going to just round up for this one because this is her first placement, so she can have her time in the sun. All right, on to the parallel investigators here. Ocula is a tool. All right, yeah, no, that's really good for her. That's really good for her. All right, I want to go pretty quick through these parallel investigators. I'm not going to have too much to say, but that can change once we get there. But I'm going to try to go a bit quick. Parallel Roland, I think, is C tier like regular Roland. I think they're very similar. They both have weaknesses that are exploited pretty handily by the game. I think that the directives are a cool thing, and I think that the deck building is very fun. Also of note, these gradings are parallel front and parallel back. No mixing and matching. I ain't fucking with that shit. I think what makes Parallel Roland really neat is the deck building and how you can open it. But I think that he's still just not particularly great. Parallels are going the way of the dodo, eh? That's my hunch. Like, I can't... I mean, they might still make them. But I think at this point now, it's like... Why... Just, if they're going to be making new investigators from old ones, it doesn't really fit as well anymore. I don't think. Maybe they'll find, like... They'll do more, like, Susie type things, where they'll have, like, joke investigators, but I can't see them doing more parallels. Parallel Daisy Walker, I'm going to put in D. I just don't see the reason to play her. Like, she does have 5 book, but I think that these... I think that these parallels are going to be looked at with a slightly different microscope, because I'm like, why would I play this when I could just play the regular Daisy, which has like a much more interesting ability and sort of thing. So it's kind of going to come with that as well. You might be able to call me a hypocrite in terms of doing this, but also if someone brought Parallel Daisy to the table and just played a bunch of tomes, I'd be like, why the hell are you not just playing regular Daisy? It just seems like it's the better thing to do. Why not just play the one that's good as opposed to the one that is just like worse? Like, what are you doing? You don't even have your mystic pool anymore. Like, yeah, you can investigate, but you only have like 1 brain until you get a book and play, then you get 2. I'm so proud of you, right? So I'm going to put her down there. Parallel Agnes is very nice. We're going to put that into the A tier. She's very fun, very powerful. She opens up the mystic pool in a way that no other investigator kind of has. Here, let's just move this over. Let's also just copy transformation. And then we just go like that. I love Parallel Agnes. I love seeing people bring her to patron game days. I think that she's really fun to cook with and like kind of see her in action. Great investigator. Parallel Skids, also, I'm going to put him in the A tier. I think he's the best big money player. Oh, that would be interesting if they just give... I wouldn't be upset if they gave us refined versions of some parallel investigators. That would be hype. In, like, for Chapter 2 down the road. I think Parallel Skids is the best big money user in the game. I think he's also the best user of Underworld support. Do you remember when we talked about that a few hours ago? I love that he has a small deck size and making it even smaller. And being able to put a bunch of like exceptional cards in there is really, really neat. And it's very fun to gamble with him. So very successful. Parallel Wendy Adams, I don't even know what she fucking does, man. There's too much text on her, too many words. I'm not probably ever going to play this investigator. She is what I would consider to be an abomination. Not even Parallel Jim gets that. Oh, I didn't do Parallel Lola in here. Sorry, we don't get to talk about Parallel Lola today. I'd probably put Parallel Lola in the B tier, though. Parallel Zoe, she's pretty good. Where do I have regular Zoe? B tier? This one's probably better, right? How much better? Is it a whole tier better? I've seen her brought a few times, and she's good. But she leans very hard on Blessed Blade 4. I'm going to put her in the B tier. She's strong, But I still think she's not in the A tier of fighters. I think like Mark, Yorick, Nat Cho, Daniela are all better than her. There's Daniela. Yeah, because she only goes to 03 Guardian. That is a pretty big thing. She can take Bless. That's why she can take the Bless Blade. But Parallel Rex, honestly, I think I'm going to put him in the C tier. I've only seen him brought out a few times, and I've never really, apart from when like there was a patron Akanos who would always bring really cool decks. He brought like one Parallel Rex deck that I thought was pretty good, but otherwise I think that there's nothing really like too nutso about this guy. I just wish there was something else to him to give him like a little bit more juice. Parallel Jenny, she cares about talents, huh? I think I'm also going to put her in the C tier. She requires a lot of work to get set up. And when you do, the payoff is like just more stats. There's some cool talents that you can go with, but no one's really brought her to a game day. And I think that's just because she's kind of... She's kind of just like there. There's really nothing too crazy about her that makes you really want to play her. Her ability is like nice where you can like play, because she's like the Leo Anderson. She's like Leo Anderson for talents, but like talents... let me just say I'm glad she's not an official investigator. She's a parallel investigator. I think she works better there. Parallel Jim Culver, I think, is an easy A-tier investigator. I think being able to get multiple allies for free is very nice. The Spirit deck is very gameable, which is very fun. His ability is actually incredibly relevant if you're leaning into curse tokens, because being able to turn those, turning them into like charges is really nice. I'm having fun with him in the campaign play along. I am, and that's what I'm saying. Like I was very impressed with how much he was able to keep things filled up. I do think he's a little bit over designed, but I also believe that Parallel Investigators is the place where that over design can happen, right? I think that if they were going to do a design like this, Parallel was the place to do it. And maybe Parallels will still exist if they have those designs that they find to be too complicated for a player card expansion. Oh boy, it's me! I'm broken! I'm Parallel Ashcan Pete, and I'm broken! I break the game! My guitar is way too good. I love this guy. He's probably some of the most fun I've had playing Arkham. And I think that it's not a surprise that it's also like Amanda Sharp is some of my most fun I've had playing Arkham. Because I think Ashcan Pete nullifies the game in a way that like Amanda Sharp does when he's going really good. Dude's kind of sick with it. And I also don't personally agree when players say that when players say that this guy can't handle elite enemies, because I think he can. He can just like nullify every small enemy and then just like kill the big enemy. I think in 2 players you have to change your deck differently, but like in 3 or 4 players, this guy's job isn't enemies. He is just like pure support and putting everything where they need to be. He's basically like Abathur, like zone control from like Heroes of the Storm. He is just looking at the map top down as an omnipotent god controlling all the pieces. He realizes he's achieved Chin. He realizes that he is in a game. He is the godhead, and he is controlling all the pieces. That's how good Ashcan Pete is. I think that he might be the strongest investigator in the game. Even more than Amanda Sharp. Just because that enemy control is nutso. It should be illegal. Yeah, he's very powerful. Parallel Father Mateo is also very good. He has one deck that is insane. I think he's going to be A tier. They got to taboo Ancient Covenant. They got to make that shit forbidden. I think that card is too good to be... I think it just kind of nullifies some of these designs. It would make Parallel Father Mateo weaker, but... Huge glow up for Jim and Mateo, by the way. Good job, guys. I've only played him once, and I started playing a campaign with him that I never finished. He is very powerful. And I am curious to try him out more, but I just remember, like, absolutely destroying a run of the Threads of Fate with him. I think I full cleared it on the second act, on the second agenda. Is that what I did? Is that right? I think that's what I did with him, which is kind of crazy when you put it all together. When you put it like that, that's really efficient. That's really efficient. Maybe S tier for this guy, but because I haven't played him, I'm feeling a little bit of hesitance. I played a lot of Ash Campete. I bring him out all the time, the parallel version. And then we have Parallel Monterey Jack. I think he is probably realistically a C tier investigator. He does maybe B tier. Problem is he doesn't really have an ability. We'll put him in B tier for this one. His ability is fine, but it's very swingy. But I think the nice thing about Monterey Jack is that it's his card pool. He's able to be a more traditional rogue investigator, which I think is pretty relevant. Okay. That's the list. That's the video. We did it. Christmas is coming. It's just right around the corner. Wow. Okay. That felt like a journey. That felt like a journey, didn't it? 10 more investigators next year? Yeah, but we're changing the format, so it's going to be a little bit easier. It's going to be a little bit easier. Because then we can just be like, Roland Banks? Nah, he's still C tier. Hasn't got anything new. 2 hours and 56 minutes. 57 minutes and a few seconds. But yeah, under 3 hours. Let's go! We did it! Like I said, Parallel Lola I'd probably put in B tier. I have to play her through a campaign to really solidify that, but that's my tier list. There will be a link that if you want to see the image version of it, you can find that on the Patreon for free. But if you do want to support the channel and support us making these videos and recording these 3-hour-long tier lists, you can do that on our Patreon page, which you can also find down in the video description. That was fun. Chat, thanks for not trying to bait me in the second half of this. But just know that I do appreciate the discourse, but we still have Bryn and Travis. So Bryn's going to come out tomorrow, and Travis is going to be on Boxing Day. So you can look forward to that. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. Thank you for another year of enjoying our channel and hopefully digging our content. Merry Christmas. Have a good holidays with all your family and everyone. And if you're not able to see family, you can always watch Bryn's tier list tomorrow. So you can do that as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. And as always, a GG's.